You're listening to The Good, the Bad, and the Spooky, the horrifying podcast where every week we tell 3 stories, all of them spooky. I'm your host, Jesse Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun McIntyre, and I think razor blades in candy is funny.
I'm your other host, Lynette Thomas. Wait, no, fuck. I fucked it up. Hold on. I'm your other fuck.
Your other toast.
I'm your other host, Lynette. Call me Mummy. Get it? Mummy. Okay. Thomas. And I think that the Fear Street series is a really good Halloween series. Everyone should check out.
It is good. We've talked about it on the show. We talked about it last week.
I actually think we did talk about it last week.
Which that'll be out of order, but yeah, we did talk about it last week.
Okay. I'm your other host. I didn't think of a middle name.
That's okay. Think of one real quick, and then
I don't know. I tried to.
Let's think real quick.
Stacey Stone Cold Killer Stark.
I dig it.
Okay. All right. I'm your other host, Stacey Stone Cold Killer Stark. That's so stupid. And something that I think is bad is people worshiping the devil.
Ooh.
That's a bad
hot
thing.
take.
Yeah.
I don't think I agree with that.
Oh, well, okay, well. I'm not
Why do you think why do you think that's bad? Like, I mean, I guess how do you think it's bad?
I mean, I guess
I mean, there's the whole story I told the last 2 weeks in a row, you know?
yeah, there's nothing good comes of that. It's like it's just like it permeates everything, you know, like good and evil.
Also, Anton LaVey's kind of a dick.
I think that the idea of the devil, like as he stands, is you know, different for, like, what he symbolizes is different for everyone. So, like, you know, like hedonism, like people who practice that, you know, it is technically a kind of Satanism, but, you know, I think there's just varying degrees. Like, I don't really believe in spirits affecting the world so much. So I don't know. I just don't think that. I think that worshiping the devil can be good sometimes. Or like people have good intentions with it. Sometimes.
I don't disagree with that, but I think that once I get into my story, you might learn why it's a bad thing.
Oh, I'm excited. Jesse, say the thing.
Why don't you spin us a yarn made of cobwebs? Because it's spooky.
All right, I'm going to weave you a spook. So this is the story of Cindy James. Has anyone ever heard of Cindy James?
No. I
No.
can't say I have.
Okay. Cindy was the oldest of 6 kids. She lived in Richmond, Canada. So like already mark against her, you know.
That's not a real place.
That's what I was saying. But she lived in Richmond, Canada. At 19 years old, she got married and like kind of left her childhood home. I didn't really read in my research too much about like how she grew up. Stuff comes out later in the story that I may get to, but I can't really determine how her childhood was, but there were 6 kids. I know that. Anyway, at 19, she got married to a doctor. The doctor's name was Roy Makepeace.
Oh, goodness.
What a great name.
That's a crazy name. It's almost like you made that up yourself.
Yeah,
like dog what?
It's a wild name, but like it's a good one. Like
Yeah.
if I came across that guy in a story,
You know that basketball player? Was it a basketball player? I think so. Or a football player who changed his name to Meta World Peace. Never heard of him?
No.
That's what Roy reminds me of. Like, anyway. I think he shot himself in the dick too. Not make
The football player?
but the football or basketball player.
On purpose?
He was like a crazy person. No, he had a gun in the. Okay, gun safety tip, just real quick. Note your clothing when you're taking your gun out. Don't try to put your gun in the sweat and like in your sweatpants, like in just like tuck it in the sweatpants, because sweatpants are loosey goosey, and you know.
I feel like you're not really supposed to tuck guns in your pants. Like that's what holsters are for, right?
That is what holsters are for. You can tuck guns in your pants, like. It's uncomfortable. I don't know why you would do it, but I mean, people do. It's a way to get them around. It's actually, I mean, it's better than like putting it in your pocket or something, you know.
That's how you shoot your butt off.
Because he shoved it in his in the waistband. I think he was reaching for it at a nightclub and shot his dick.
Oof.
So that sucks for him. Anyway. So Cindy married Roy Makepeace, Jesus, when she was 19. He was 18 years older than her, so already the ick was had. She was a nurse, and she loved working with like kids, so that's a lot of her nursing was like her in Canada working with children in like the foster care system or kids who were like in juvenile facilities. She did a lot of her work there. In 1982, Cindy and her husband divorced. Not a lot is known about the details of the divorce. Like when it comes to her, from the stories like her sisters and shit say, they basically say like, okay, she just wanted to like leave the marriage and go on and start a new life, which makes sense. Because she was 19 when they got married. I don't know how long they were married, but nobody wants to live with an old man. Like, you know what I mean?
Sounds terrible, yeah.
In the prime of their life. So, so she gets a house and she gets settled into her new life, and then strange things started to happen. She would get strange phone calls and like threats, like somebody would call her phone, and then a raspy voice would be like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. I can see you, and like shit like that.
I feel like that's just kind of hack. Like, can we come up with something more original than I'm gonna kill you, bitch? Like,
yeah,
just put some work into it, you know? Effort.
Then she would also receive like strange, like serial killer letter collages type things that would be like, you know, it would like have like, you know, the cutout letters from magazines that would say
like a ransom note.
Yeah, that would say like, I see you. And then would also involve like just weird images. So it'd be like a picture of like a dude like holding a knife or a lady being choked or something like that.
See,
like,
that's what I'm
like
talking about.
Like
Just spice it up a little pizzazz.
She eventually went to her parents and told them about this, and they told her to go to the police. But the police do nothing, as the police are wont to do. Mm-hmm. Their harassment continues, but becomes more like graphic. Like the images that were on the letters just became like more graphic. The things that the guy would call and say on the phone became more explicit, etc. Cindy's demeanor begins to change, and her parents and siblings would say that, like, you know, she was just somebody who just filled the room with like light and joy whenever she walked in. But they saw her becoming a little like, you know, paranoid and frazzled, and like they noted that she kind of wasn't, you know, sleeping as it looked like. She was just tired, like wasn't sleeping as much, all that stuff. Cindy found, during this period of time, Cindy found 3 dead cats hanging in her garden. When she discovered the cats, she went to like run into her house and noticed that her porch lights had been smashed. And then she went to go call the police and realized her phone lines had been cut.
Shut up.
Yeah. She began to realize that instead of the letters, like the letters were originally like mailed to her house, And then they started to like some being mailed, some having like no postage, meaning that
They'd just
whoever
been dropped
they
off.
had just been dropped off. And then she started to find they were being placed on her doorstep. Yeah. She had a friend named Agnes who was married to a dude named Tom. Agnes went to visit Cindy one night, but Cindy didn't answer the door. She was clearly home because her car was in the driveway, but Cindy was like, oh, whatever, I'll let myself in through the back door, because sometimes Cindy likes to take like long baths at night, so she's probably just in the bathtub. So she goes and walks around the house, and she sees Cindy like hiding behind her house. And Agnes then sees that there's black nylon stockings wrapped around her Cindy's neck.
Oh no!
And so she gets her, she gets her free. She was like, hey, like what the fuck happened? Obviously, so Cindy said that she was in the garage and like rooting through some boxes, and someone came behind her and attacked her and like strangled her with the nylon stockings. And she said she didn't see the person, but she did look down and see they were wearing white sneakers. And then when Agnes like knocked on the door, it scared the person off. So Cindy like ran from the garage and like hid in the back of her house.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Cindy stays at her house after this incident, which is
So dumb.
a little bananas to me.
Yeah.
But we'll kind of get into that as this unfolds.
I imagine this is going to be a common theme tonight. Is people not leaving when they should have, It's definitely one in my story.
I mean, I don't necessarily. Oh, actually, you know what? I do have one of those.
Yeah.
All right. So Cindy still stays at her house after this incident. Letters continue to arrive. She also had raw meat delivered. Like the person just
That's nice.
delivered raw meat to her house. And they also tried to like strangle her dog.
Aww.
Like she came home and found a rope tied around her dog's neck and him just like dangling on the porch.
But the dog was fine.
The porch, yes, the dog is fine.
So it seems like this person, at the very least, is not very good at their job.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've failed to not only kill, what's her name again?
Cindy,
but they've also failed to kill Cindy's dog.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I completely agree, and we'll kind of get into that. So one of the things that occurred while she's being harassed or whatever is that the harassment would like stop for periods of time, like a month, 3 months, and then she would be like, oh, okay, well now I can live normally again, and then it would start again. She was keeping a journal. She had always kept a journal, but you could tell, like in reading her journal, that during this time period, you see her mental state declining, like what she's writing, like she's going crazy, and her journal soon becomes like, paranoid gobbledygook. The police didn't believe her, though, and thought she was writing these letters to herself. Cindy she was like, okay, I'm just going to take this matter into my own hands. So she moved in secret and like only told her mom, and she changed her last name. So her last name was still Makepeace, but she changed it to James when all of this stuff was happening. She also hired a private investigator named Ozzy Carpon, I think. He felt like he believed Cindy's story, but she wasn't giving all of the information. Like he felt like she was hiding something from him. And so then he met with her parents, who also agreed with him that there's something Cindy's not telling us about all of this.
Interesting.
And they think that it's that she knows who's doing it and just won't say.
Weird.
They installed lights outside her house and equipped her with a two-way radio and a panic button. One night, Ozzy hears noises coming from the two-way radio. So he goes over to Cindy's house and he finds her laying on the floor with a knife in her hand, like stabbed in her hand, and a note between her hand and the knife. That said, "You are dead, bitch." They call 911 and she is hospitalized and recovers. She said the only thing she remembers is a needle being put into her arm while she was asleep, and then she didn't see or hear anything after that. The police did not take any fingerprints at the crime scene, which is weird. And like, we are talking about it's in the 80s right now. Like, why are you not? What?
That's like standard procedure at this point. You know?
But they didn't. And they did find that she had been injected with something. It didn't really tell me what she was injected with, though. The police basically tell her that they're tired of her antics and ask her to go ahead and fess up that she's the perpetrator of her own stalking and also stabbing. The PI wasn't having that because he was also there, and as a learned PI man, he's like, yeah, it doesn't really make, like, the way she was shot up doesn't make sense for her to have injected herself. The police gave Cindy a polygraph test to basically try to, to get her to confess that she was lying.
Sure.
But she passes the polygraph test, and it says that she was not lying. But the police said that she was too traumatized to relay any useful info. Okay. The police set up a week-long... Okay, so the first documentary that I watched said that they set up a 24-hour surveillance of her property and tapped her phones to try to catch whoever is doing this to her. But then when I was reading the Wikipedia, they said that they did a week-long surveillance. So I'm gonna lean towards what Wikipedia said, that it was a week-long surveillance that they did and tapped her phones, and no phone calls occurred during that period of time, which honestly would make sense because it was right after this incident. So it's like, obviously the perpetrator wouldn't immediately start threatening her again.
Right. It doesn't follow the
after
pattern.
this incident, because he's taken gaps before, but more so, it was right after an incident that she absolutely had to have called police about. You know what I'm saying? So,
For sure.
Okay. Once police presence leaves, the calls start again, but they're like shorter and not recordable. So like the person would like call and be like, "You stupid bitch," and then hang up. Like, that's yeah. So shortly thereafter, Cindy was found in a ditch 6 miles from her home. She was alive. She was wearing a man's work boot and a glove. She had cuts and bruises all over her and a nylon stocking around her throat. She had no memory of the attack at all.
Jesus.
After recovering from that incident, she asked Agnes and Tom to stay with her in her house. Agnes and Tom woke up in the middle of the night, hearing strange like crackling noises from the basement. Tom went to look and he saw that there was flames coming up from the basement. And he tries to call 911, but then notices again that the phone lines are cut. He runs outside to tell a neighbor, but when he gets outside, he says he saw a man just like standing outside, like across the street, just like staring at the house. So he yells at that guy, like he runs to that guy and is like, "Hey, call 911," but the guy just like runs away down the street. So then he goes to the neighbor's house and then has the neighbor call 911. The police said it was clearly that someone inside the house started the fire because they didn't know any signs of like a forced entry. Cindy's parents noted, they didn't, sorry, I got lost. They also said that they know she was the perpetrator of this incident because earlier that night, police had spotted her walking her dog alone at night, so she couldn't have been that scared.
That doesn't make any sense.
At all.
Sometimes your dog just needs to be walked.
Yeah. Well, so you have a dog with you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, so like, bitch is stressed. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're saying that she couldn't have been scared because, you know, she was walking alone at night, but it's like she's scared everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not. She got attacked in her garage. Like, where was she supposed to be?
Well, those are the
safe?
only places she's been attacked is in her own home,
so it's
right?
like, what are you fucking talking about?
Yeah, maybe she felt safer away from her house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Cindy's parents know the decline in her mental health and suggested a stay at a psychiatric clinic, which she stayed at for 10 weeks. Now, there's a lot of incidents that I'm leaving out of this story, but we'll kind of talk about them more later. But I do just want to point out here that she reported 90 incidents to the police. That's a lot of fucking incidents to be reporting. After she left the psychiatric facility, that's when she decided to tell her family that there was something she was keeping from them about all of this, and she was going to come clean. She said she knows who is the perpetrator of all of these incidents, and that the perpetrator said that he would kill all of her friends and her family if she revealed who it was, and her ex-husband. Her ex-husband, who I said was a doctor, he is a psychiatrist. Okay. The police questioned the ex-husband, and he denied any involvement. He said he knew who was behind it. Well, he had theories about who was behind it, and he directed police to voicemails that he had, that someone left him. So he also, we'll get into the voicemails here in a second, but he also said that Cindy had a split personality. She was not diagnosed with this in the when she's had her stay at the psychiatric hospital. He's just saying that. I can't say that she definitely didn't have, you know, that wasn't a thing, but also it's like, I feel like they would kind of, you spent 10 weeks at a psychiatric facility. I feel like somebody would have noticed if you had like dramatic split personality, but okay. So the voicemails that he, here's what the voicemail said. The first voicemail said, was a raspy voice saying, Cindy dead meat.
Oh.
The second voicemail said, more smack, more downers, another grand after we waste the cunt. No more deal. Okay. So, he said it's either Cindy doing this to herself or the mafia, because Cindy worked with a lot of underprivileged, like kids from rough backgrounds, at the hospital.
Why would the mafia want?
Right, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Why would the mafia want it? Now, we'll get more into the weeds on this after I kind of sum up the whole story, but just please keep those two voicemails in mind. One day, Cindy goes to run errands. She goes to run errands at a local shopping center, and her car was found at that shopping center after her friends and family reported her missing. Her car was found at the shopping center on May 5th, 1989. Blood was found on the driver's side door. Her wallet contents were found strewn underneath the car. Her groceries were still in the trunk, including a gift that was like all wrapped up and all that she had bought for her friend's son for his birthday. 2 weeks go by and nobody has seen or heard from Cindy. And her body was then found in the front yard of an abandoned house. Now, the area where the body was found is a very busy. It's like by an intersection, and there's a lot of foot traffic over there. It's very busy. So obviously the body was kind of dumped there after the fact, because that intersection, somebody would have seen it.
Right.
When I was researching this on Wikipedia, they also said that there was like a fuel tank that was like in that on that abandoned property, and someone had spray painted. It was spray painted on the fuel tank, like some cunt got killed here with a spray painted line from the fuel tank to Cindy's body, and like circled
So they wanted
around
it found.
Cindy's body. Right.
Damn.
She after the medical examinations, after she was examined medically, they came to the conclusion that she had to have died on the day that she disappeared. They also noted an injection mark on her body and later discovered that she was injected with a 10 times lethal dose of morphine, along with like lethal doses of 2 other drugs, but those were not injected. The 2 other drugs were eaten. Her body was found with her hands and feet bound, and a stocking around her neck. The police's theory was that she injected herself, walked a mile to the abandoned house, tied herself up, and strangled herself. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police ruled her death a suicide or accident.
What?
The coroner disagreed and ruled her death as a morphine overdose. No one was ever arrested or held responsible for her murder. And people are very torn about what happened to Cindy James. Now,
Torn.
I find this story really interesting. First of all, horrifying. All of that. Fucking horrifying. When I was researching this on Wikipedia, they go through a lot more incidents. Like they detail a lot more incidents of her contacting the police, and there's stories where there's someone else involved with it who corroborate the things that she's saying is happening to her. And then there's some where you can kind of be like, the story has me torn too, because I can kind of see that she could have done these things to herself. Not the end finale part. I don't know that there was a whole like trial about it. That technically I guess she could have tied the rope around her neck. And I guess technically you can tie your hands together, although her hands were bound so tight that like her nail scratched her, like another one of her fingers to the bone. So that's kind of hard to fucking do yourself, to tie yourself that tight. But you could possibly do that like using leverage of some kind. The thing is though, the timeline doesn't really make sense, right? Like, as far as the death itself is concerned, I'm kind of all over the place. But as far as the death itself is concerned, there's no way that you can... First of all, they never found a needle. But also, there's no way that you could inject yourself with 10 times the lethal amount of heroin or morphine and then walk a mile and a half.
No.
Bind your hands and feet and then not be discovered for 2 weeks. There's no fucking way. Spray paint all of that shit.
Yeah.
Perfectly put a circle where you're going to put your dead body. How are you doing all of this?
That's crazy, man.
So people are pretty torn with like, she was a crazy drug addict who did this to herself, or her husband was the perpetrator of all of this.
Wait, she had a husband?
Her ex-husband.
Oh.
Make peace. So, and I'm kind of torn about it too, because I do think that she was struggling mentally. She clearly was, because they kept her at the psychiatric hospital for 10 weeks, right?
Well, how can you go through something like that and not struggle mentally?
True.
Right.
True.
Yeah, it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg.
Right. And she was probably seeing, she was probably, like seeing fire where there was no fire,
Right.
after a certain point.
And
in some instances.
Yeah.
There's like some credence to the police being like, hey, she did these things herself. Like, for instance, there were 4 fire incidents. I only talked about the one, but there was 4 or 5 of them where her house caught on fire. And like, the cops never found any evidence of anybody else being in the house. And like, one of them found like a singed newspaper in the bathroom. And they're like, well, clearly you burnt some newspaper and then lit it. But also it's like, I don't know if that fucking makes sense. I'm no fire expert, but I don't know if that shit makes sense though. Because
Can I ask, was there evidence that her dog had actually been strangled that one day? Or did she just say that?
She just reported that.
Okay. And then I was also thinking...
The dog was found, like, hanging in some feces. But it's, like... Yes, there was evidence that the dog was strangled.
Oh.
But, like... Did she do that herself?
Gosh, I would hope not.
You know? So, like, I find it very odd that her husband had those voicemails. Because it's weird that he had a theory about the mafia being involved.
Yeah, that is strange.
And it's weird that the voicemails that he got was talking about like drugs and having her killed, right? So, but that doesn't really clear her of, because she could have left those voicemails.
Right.
Like, you know, like it's, I don't know.
Like if she used like a different like voice like modulator thing.
Yeah.
Not even. She could just be like, "Hey, kill the
Right.
bitch," you know.
Right.
I guess.
I don't know if he, like, I don't know if he didn't do it. Like, Cindy went to a hypnotherapist like after her and her PI were just kind of at the end of their rope. She went to a hypnotherapist to try to like maybe jog some type of memory or something out of her. Now, I don't really believe in hypnosis, and I think that talking with your subconscious, can lead to a lot of like
False memories.
Yeah. But she said she remembered from that incident that her husband, her ex-husband, Makepeace, had murdered 2 people. And
That's kind of a wild thing to
bodies.
forget.
It's also like, I'll say this about being hypnotized. It is real and it isn't at the same time. Like, you have to be willing to be hypnotized, but you can also fake being hypnotized.
Well, I don't even think, but like the way that the brain works, right? We're very suggestible beings, right?
Right.
And so it's not a reliable narrator.
Because it's you.
Because it's you.
Right, that's true.
So
even
like,
if you
if you like succumb to the hypnosis or whatever,
if someone suggests an idea to you, you might like expand off of that idea.
It's not necessarily completely useless. It just should be taken with a grain of salt.
and it's also like, you know, we think about like imagination in our waking selves, right?
Yeah.
You're allowed to, you as a waking person are very much, you know, able to come up with crazy fucking stories. It's like, you can do that, you know, and they like, dreams feel real, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like your brain can't tell the difference between a dream and
exactly,
you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm kind of torn. I do think from the things that I researched that she was struggling with a lot of mental illnesses. I read a report from one of her psychiatrists that basically said she is extremely intelligent and is dealing with a lot of mental issues, whether they are external or internal, he could not say, but she's clearly under a lot of mental duress, which makes it so that she is, you know, some days doing well and some days really like melancholy and sad, or some days really frantic, and they tried to use that in her, like in the trial of them trying to like sum up what happened to her as evidence of the split personality, but I don't think that that's evidence of a split personality. I think that's evidence of like anybody under mental duress, like
somebody being stalked,
someone being fucking stalked and harassed. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, and it's like, I don't know, dude. Because like if it was her husband, like you said before, he like toyed with her though. Like whoever did this was like toying with her for a long period of time. And it's like, what would be the purpose of that? But I'm like, oh my God, her husband's a like her ex-husband was a psychiatrist. So like,
oh, he was?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
So like to, terrorize someone and make them look like they're crazy just to torment them.
Someone who's a psychiatrist.
I could see you doing that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't know. That's crazy. I don't think she did it. There's no way you can shoot yourself up, right? And then walk a mile, right?
A mile and a half.
And then take more drugs orally, you said.
Yes.
And then there's no fucking way. There's no shot, dude.
Yeah.
It had to be her husband or the mafia, I guess.
I truly can't believe that
I think Courtney Love did it.
that she killed herself, or there wasn't someone else involved. But it's also weird too, because it's like, if this woman is doing this shit to herself because she has split personality and is going, through this, she's on some days, she's this way some days and this way other days. That's weird too, because she maintained such a long-term friendship with Tom and Agnes. And it's like,
wouldn't they notice
like,
that?
Agnes was comfortable enough to like walk around and let herself in the back door when
Sure.
Cindy wasn't answering the door. Like, that's a level of comfortability of this friend is able to see you whenever, wherever, in any state. So it's like, I would think that, or at least Agnes would see her like cutting up the pictures on. Yeah. Like, did anybody check for huge stacks of magazines?
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And maybe also, an issue of Guy with Knife Monthly.
Psychosis is really, if it was like her doing this to herself, it's like, would she hang 3 dead cats on her porch? Like, yeah. Like, I get.
Where do you even get 3 dead cats?
It's like, I know that people have like lied about stalking situations and things like that, but it's like the extent and the amount of years that this happened, because it was from like 82 to 89 when she died. Like, that's 7 years of you
tormenting
yourself.
Yeah. Can I just say though, the cat thing, that actually reminds me of the movie Smile. I think it's called, the scary movie. And there's this part where someone like kills the lady's cat, and then she like wraps it's like a toy train, like a present to give to a child, like at like a child's birthday party. But when the kid opens the box, it's the dead cat. Huh. So, and like everyone thinks obviously that she just gave the kid a dead cat, but she's like, no, like I didn't do that. I don't know how it got there.
Yeah,
it just was the Smile.
It was, yeah.
I also, while I was researching this story, so the dad, her dad, met with the husband, Makepeace, at a coffee shop, and he was wearing a wire, which seems very weird, because it's like, I don't understand Canadian police or their investigation tactics, because it's like, why would you wire up the dad as he's trying to get a confession from dude? Because that guy's clearly not going to tell her dad anything.
Right. Yeah.
Why not wire up one of his friends? But whatever. Whatever. So he went and was like, hey, stop harassing my daughter. Like, it's annoying and the worst. Like, fucking stop. I know it's you. Quit it. And
stop it. Stop. I know it's you. Just stop it.
Just quit, dude. And so after they left that meeting, Makepeace wrote the dad a 6-page letter in which he basically says,
it's definitely him.
Which he basically talks about, hey, it's probably the mafia. And then he also accuses the dad of abusing his daughter and being really mean to his daughter. And then there was also a part that is pointed out. One of the psychiatrists said that she clearly had a bad relationship with her father. She was very angry with her father while they were, during therapy sessions.
Sure.
She was very angry with her father, and the psychiatrist states that he believed that the father had molested her as a child, but she never said that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's the case. That seems pretty dubious to me. I think there's a lot of forms of like abuse and unfulfillment in childhood, and it's very easy to be like, oh, it's because sex abuse happened to you, but I think it could have been,
it could be literally anything.
Yeah.
Like there was a time like in my life when I was a kid that I really didn't have a good relationship with my dad, just because I found out he was a person who did human things, and I didn't approve of some things that he did. So yeah, that like I definitely had a lot of anger towards him for a lot of things.
In my all of the shit that happened in my childhood, I have a lot of anger, like pent up rage towards my parental figures, and like none of that is sexual abuse.
Right, exactly.
It's all types of other, abuses. So I think that that's kind of dubious. But I will say the psychiatrist noting that she had such anger towards her father, I think that kind of explains why she didn't leave home. Like she didn't, go to stay with her, parents.
Yeah, she didn't feel like that was an option.
Right. But anyway, yeah, guys, that's my story. Well, what did you think? Who do you think did it?
I mean, it's hard to say. I think that like the obvious choice would be the ex-husband. But I think like the thing that kind of stood out to me too was when she was like hiding behind her neighbor's house with the thing around her neck. Like that, to me, that seems kind of sus. Like she could have done that herself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of these things, I can picture a world where she did those things to herself. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting that, there wasn't more of a haste in her like moving or figuring out other arrangements. Mm-hmm. It's interesting to me that like you said with her she was hiding behind her own house, and it just didn't make any sense to me that somebody had attacked you in your garage and then ran away. Why would you not just lock yourself in your garage? Like you just close the door
or outside the house, something. Yeah,
right. Or yell really loud.
I think Agnes did it.
It's weird that so she receives all of these letters with these like cut out letters and all of that shit. Like obviously that the reason why people do that is so that they can't trace, your handwriting, right?
Oh, I never thought about that. I thought it was just like the aesthetic. Like it looks
so punk rock, dude.
It looks cool as fuck.
No, so you can't trace the handwriting. Mm-hmm. But then she also said that she knows who did it, and it's her ex-husband. But it's like, it's weird that he is being anonymous and like running behind you and strangling you and then running away. Right. Like not making his presence known, but also had at some point in time said, hey, it's me, by the way.
Okay, wait, hold up. So like, who was it that come to stay with her after?
It was Agnes and Tom.
Okay. Had Tom and Agnes, had they ever met her ex-husband?
So they had, but Tom said when he saw the person like, across the street, he couldn't, it was dark and he couldn't see a face. And then when he ran towards him, the dude just like ran away.
Booked it. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I find it weird that she's like, I'm hiding from you who it is because he threatened to kill me and my family and friends. And then she reveals that it's her ex-husband, but it's like, if it like, okay, I have dealt with a lot of scary, weird stalker guys in my life. And none of those scary, weird stalker guys have ever been like hiding the fact that they're obsessive. Like,
it's always been really upfront.
That's not the goal of it, right? It's not like, yeah, like the goal of it is like I'm obsessed with you, and so I need to make my presence known, and I need to be like, I'm gonna, be all up your ass.
Yeah.
But you know it's me. So it's just weird to me that he would go the lengths to be anonymous that he did, while also being like, hey, low-key, it is me. Like that doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, that is weird.
I feel like if it was her ex-husband, I feel like he would have been able to kill her a lot more easily. And if that was like his goal, why did he drag it out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the other thing of it is like, it is weird and hard for me to believe that because there's no clear motive here. Like if it was her ex-husband, they didn't ever say that she was like molested or anything during these attacks, although they did find her like, with the boot, like stripped, yes, but not molested.
Yeah, they didn't find any evidence of.
So it's like, then what is the point of it? Like, what would be the point? And the only thing I could think of, if it's the ex-husband, is that she knows something or he's done something.
Maybe not good with his patients or something.
Super illegal or something. And then he's just doing this to like
silence
her because he can't just outright kill her because they would kind of know that
would be the first place
that would be the first place that they would look. So he's just like tormenting her to make her scared and anxious and afraid is the only motive I could postulate. Because other than that, who the fuck is doing that? For 7 years, you're harassing this bitch, but for what?
I mean, maybe she had someone else in her life that she just never told anyone about. But also, if she was so upset about all this stuff happening, like, I feel like she would probably tell someone.
Yeah, I don't believe she had. I think it would be really hard for her to have like someone else in her life. Because like I said, like Tom and Agnes were super close and always around her, she would tell them. It'd just be hard to hide. You know what I'm saying? She had like surveillance around her house. Phones were tapped. It'd be hard to hide if there was like another person that they found out. Also, additionally, just to wrap this up and let's get to the next story. The Canadian police spent $1.5 million during this 7 years on shit involving her case, which I think is probably why they were getting a little annoyed by it because they were convinced that she was doing it to herself, and they're like, oh man, we're expending a whole lot of resources,
That's crazy.
Yeah, I can kind of understand that. Like at a certain point, there's only so much you can
at a certain point, just do your fucking job and find the person doing it, and you wouldn't have to spend as much money.
That's true. Take some fingerprints.
Or it's like also how I feel like it'd be cheaper if you just put this bitch in witness protection.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Like if you just put her somewhere she can't be found.
Right.
Even if she was doing it to herself, Mm-hmm. Like that would be the cheaper route instead of being like, hey, you're lying. You're a liar. Also, she passed the polygraph. So it's like to pass a polygraph after it's the dishwasher. Pass a polygraph after you were like stabbed in the hand. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you can calm yourself down enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's
to like
great.
lie effectively because you
definitely.
just stabbed yourself in the hand. So
Yeah, it was probably her ex-husband.
yeah. But anyway, honestly, one of the scariest stories to me because like I struggle so hard with people not believing the things that I'm saying. Like it doesn't happen often, but if somebody tells me like I'm lying about something, it fucking kills me inside.
No,
and
it
like
doesn't.
I can't think of shut up.
You're so full of shit.
And I can't think of like a greater terror than for 7 years of your life,
Literally being terrorized.
you're being terrorized and people are saying like, hey, stop, you're doing it to yourself. Like that's what horror movies are made of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's actually my 7-year plan is to terrorize you and convince everybody you're crazy.
That's kind of what the movie Smile is about.
I
too.
feel like it wouldn't be very effective. Like, first, I would like to say thank God for cell phones. Because it's like nobody can cut your phone lines anymore. And
That's true.
Fuckity fuck for that, you know?
But they can take your phone.
That's true. They could take your phone, but the way
my
the
cold,
internet,
dead hands.
But the way the internet is set up, it's just like hard to not have an easy access to a phone. Like just to walk
Or
outside
something,
and go
you
to my
know?
neighbors and be like, "Hey, can I use your phone?" Like it's just, you know,
Like, how many
whatever.
devices do you think are in this house that connect to
Exactly.
the internet? You know?
Exactly. So thank God for cell phones. And yeah.
Can I say some? So when I was trying to be a telemarketer, one of the things I was trying to sell people was a landline phone. Mm-hmm. And this was like when landlines were going out of style. Mm-hmm. And the point that they wanted us to make to people for them why they need a landline is like in case there's a fire. But it's like if you already have a cell phone, you can take your cell phone and go outside.
But if there's a
make
landline,
call.
you're not going to stop and make a...
Right. You're going to stop inside your burning house and use your landline if you have a cell phone.
That's a really piss poor. It's weird that they couldn't think of any, because I can sit here and think of better reasons to have a landline.
What if the power goes out for a few days?
Like if you're it doesn't drop, like your cell phone coverage will drop, and you know, whatever.
Yeah, inside like a house or something.
There's conditions in which you just don't have cell phone service. So like that would be good to have a landline around for those, you know, types of emergencies.
Mm-hmm. That's one, yeah.
Yeah. So that's just weird that was the one, if there's one.
Yeah. Wow. Obviously, I never used that line because it didn't make any sense to me.
What line did you use?
Oh, I really didn't. I never sold anything pretty much with every person. I was like, yeah, you already have everything you need. Never mind. And they'd always be really confused. Should I start?
Yeah. You better be spooky because we need to crank up the spook factor here.
That my story wasn't spooky.
It was a
I think
nice.
that shit is fucking horrifying.
It was a nice little amuse bouche of terror. Sure.
It wasn't supernatural.
We got to ramp this up.
You're right. I thought that the scariest thing is man. You know what I'm saying?
You know, and that's true. And I feel like that kind of ties into what I'm going to be talking about as well. So you remember the other day when there was a weird smell in the house?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it a smelly smell?
It was like how did it smell in it?
It smelled like rotting food, but like not dank enough for that. If that makes sense.
Did it smell like rotten eggs?
No, it didn't. It just smelled like lifted. It wasn't heavy in the air, like something that had like fully rotted smells like.
So can I ask though, did you ever find the smell?
Yes, I did. I took out the trash. I thought I told you that because you asked me if I Googled.
That's so funny.
If I Googled the thing you told me to Google, and I said no, I took out the trash.
Stacy was like, "Hey, did you Google demons?" And you were like, "No, dog, I just took out the trash."
Okay. I was so annoyed. I wasn't even annoyed, but it is very weird when you go to someone like with reality, thinking that you'll be met with like reality, and then they just say demons. It's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that, dog? What in dead ass, like could be demons, but I'm like, oh.
Stacy, just take out the trash.
Like I think I said like I can't even address what you just said right now because I was so taken aback. Like,
well, your exact response was, "Are you crazy?"
Yes.
And I said no.
I don't think that's even how I put it. It was probably a lot harsher than like,
it was very hard.
Are you a fucking idiot or are you fucking insane?
Yeah. Like you literally seem to think that I was for saying that.
Well, it's so many things like that moment hit me so hard cuz that is a crazy thing to say, Stacey. That's a crazy thing to say.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not because this is the spooky episode.
Okay.
So we should be.
Nah, dog. it's a crazy thing to say because I could have understood it if it was like there's a smell that's been lingering in the house that we've both noticed for days and we can't get the smell out, and you're like, hey, maybe demons. But it's the fact that it was like 10 minutes after my initial
that was your
I
go-to.
smell something, and your first explanation is like
Demons.
not like maybe I should change the cat litter, maybe it's a trash can, did the kids leave food out in there, like none of those things. It was just
You
like,
went 0 to
it went-
666 real fast.
like you just went straight to demons. So it was like it really fucking impacted me. And then I thought about it a long time after because I changed the trash, the smell had left, but I kept thinking about it. Like I think I called Jesse and was like,
You literally
I'm like,
did.
Stacy just said this,
You know
and
what's-
it's like hitting me really.
So you
really
called
hard.
me after it happened, and then Stacy picked me up to bring me to the podcast the next day, and also she was like, "I think we got demons in the hospital."
Yeah, okay, so, like-
seriously,
So it hit me hard, and I had to call Jesse just to see if my feelings were correct because it was just so jarring for me. And then after that, I was like, did this bitch bring a demon into my house? Like the way that you said it. And now I after I thought about it a little while, I understood why it took me so aback, because it sounded as if you were just like, could be demons, because you had willfully brought a demon here, and you're like, oh man, that demon was really smelly. Oh, could be demons, you know.
Okay. I guess I'll say this: if I were to bring a demon anywhere, it definitely wouldn't be willful.
Okay.
Like I wouldn't be like.
So this is weird that you're not. Okay. That's the part that you're. Okay. Okay. That's
No,
the part that you're
because-
decrying is interesting.
Well, everyone's life experience is different, and some people have more supernatural encounters than others.
Right.
And I'm one of those people that, like, my entire life I've dealt with this shit.
And it's like, you know, I'm used to, I don't necessarily like agree with necessarily I can't say that I necessarily not I don't believe you, but I feel like a lot of the ways that you think about like spirits in the spirit world and your past experiences, I feel like I can explain them in other ways. I'm not saying that they did not happen. I'm just saying that like I feel like there could be other explanations. So, you know, that's not something I ever want to get into the weeds with you in, because it's not like that's your life and your experiences. I don't live my life that way, so I don't really like
You don't see things that
I
way.
don't like lean into it. So it's never like a part of contention. So I say all that to say it is not unlikely for you to say something like that to me. It was just the immediacy in which you said it.
Well,
And also because it was like, no one's ever, like maybe sulfur, but nobody's ever been like, oh, you got a like fishy smell in your house? Maybe a demon. Like what? Like I've never heard anyone ever say anything like that.
Well, to be fair, I've never smelled a demon before.
Okay.
So, but like I do know that demons tend to smell like rotting flesh or sulfur. And so I didn't know what that
The
smelled
smell
like.
was right. That I also understand that because you did not smell the smell I was smelling.
I did eventually.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, no, I mean there was definitely like other reasons why I thought that, but I won't go into that.
I feel like okay, you don't have to go into it now, but can you tell me later? Because we are talking about like my home, and even though I don't believe in woo like that, still, you know, if you see something, say something. If you know, whatever. 'Cause
Is it
I
this
just like to
clearly
be on
haunted
guard.
painting?
That's not I feel like that's like the least haunted thing in this house. It's so
Yeah.
straightforward.
So you do think that things are haunted in this house?
I leave my brain open to possibilities.
Okay, so what do you think is haunted in the house?
things I think would be haunted in this house.
No, so what you think is haunted in this house?
Well, I can't say what is haunted in this house, but things that could be haunted in this house. That hallway, that back hallway, like by Huey's room, I think that location could be haunted. That would make sense to me.
Why do you keep your children there?
The corner, he's not in the hallway. Do you think I keep my kid in the hallway?
I don't know what you do with your kids.
Like right underneath where Stacy is sitting in the basement, seems like a pretty hauntable area over there.
Is that why you don't sleep in the basement, Stacey?
I mean, basements in general are not the safest as far as hauntings go.
The entirety of the garage, I would say,
Okay.
gives me bad juju. As far as items are concerned in this house, that would be haunted. I don't know if I necessarily think that items are haunted, but I do think that like they carry an energy with them that could like permeate a space, if anything. So like,
which is a type of haunting.
Yeah. So like all of what is going on in the upper parts of those shelves in there. But I just feel like it has a really negative energy about it. A positive energy thing, though, I think is the little mannequin bust downstairs. Like I think that gives off very good vibes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I guess like before I get into more about demons, our house, I think that like you could even attest this when we first moved in, especially there was like really dark negative energy.
Yes.
And there are different types of hauntings, and I think that the kind that was here before was from all of like the chaos or like bad things that maybe happened here before we moved here. And that energy was still in here. And now that we've like, done different things with the house, made it look better, have had like other experiences in here, I feel like that energy has kind of gone away.
Yeah, I would say that it's hard for me to talk about this kind of stuff because like I'm 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I can't say whether like spiritual-esque things are real or false because we don't know everything about the world, so that could be, what I mean, that could be people leave impressions, I will say, more so like whether it be like a smell or a vibe that sometimes can be like really hard to take out of a place. And I do think that the impressions that were left here when we moved in were negative and empty, and then empty. The house to me has always felt like it just wants to be loved and taken care of and appreciated. It's a good house. It's built well. It has a lot to give. And I think that it was neglected for so long that feeling was in here. It did not feel like a home for when we first moved in.
Okay. So my story, I guess I'll just get started. Okay. It was about demons. I mean, it's not really a story. I'm just going to teach you guys about demons.
Okay.
Because Lynette seemed to be so thrown off by my mention of demons that I was like, maybe this isn't as understood as I thought. Just by people in general. And honestly, I learned so much, and like
not for the better, dog. I am worried.
No, I'm serious. Like, and just like everything, like all encompassing, like makes so much sense. That okay, like I know that you're probably not going to be happy about this, but I think I am actually a Christian.
Okay.
Learning about this, and like I think that like I always have been. I just didn't understand everything about it until now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I need to smoke for this one.
Yeah, we can talk about this, the Christianity part afterward. Well, because I think it's interesting, but my feelings on it is definitely going to hinge on whatever it is you get into.
Okay. All right. Well, what is a demon? Let's start there.
Webster's dictionary defines a demon as.
Okay.
Is that what you're gonna do?
I mean,
Anymore,
no.
I mean.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's a trope. Like,
Yeah,
that's,
no.
you know, and
I just Googled it
writing.
and the Google definition, it says the term demon means a supernatural being or spirit. Though it has commonly been associated with an evil or malevolent spirit, the term originally meant a spiritual being that influenced a person's character. Okay, more about what a demon is. So it all started when, there was God, and then there was also Lucifer. And I guess, Lucifer was like an angel or whatever, and he didn't want to do God's bidding. He wanted to like be all, sinning all over the place and just doing his own thing. And so then God was like, "You're against me," and God cast him down to hell. And so then after that, all of the other angels who were out sinning, God was like, "You guys are also going to go to hell." So now we have Satan and then also all these demons, and they're all fallen angels.
can I make a quick little just
Absolutely.
interjection here? Not that they wanted to sin is not what the demons were doing. It's that they wanted to exercise free will. That was the issue.
Yeah, they were upset that humanity had free will and they didn't, correct?
And they were upset that, well, the falling down of the angels happened before humanity's existence. So
Right.
So God first created himself or whatever the fuck, and then he created angels to be, his heavenly shepherds or whatever, which I think is interesting because they didn't have shit to shepherd. It was just them chilling. And then basically the devil was like, "Hey, I don't think that you have the authority to dictate what's right and what's wrong, and I don't think that you like we shouldn't have, we shouldn't be allowed to dissent because you don't know everything." And basically the Bible says that he tried to portray himself as equals or as powerful as God and wanted to exact his own will instead of God's will. Okay.
Yeah. All that, what you said. I'm not very smart. I don't know everything. And coming into this, I know that, you guys probably know more about this stuff than even I do. But I'm just telling you what I've gathered.
Okay.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so, even though the demons, work under Satan, they're not all evil. Some do the bidding of Satan. Some of them are their own independent actors, and then others actually worship God.
What's that like? Being a demon that worships God.
Trying to gain re-entry into heaven.
Oh, they realized they fucked up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of sad for those guys. I think God needs to be a little bit more forgiving.
There's an argument to be had. That's why I find religion so interesting, because
No, I find it
'cause,
interesting as well, and I think that there's a lot of things that's fucked up about it. But that's kind of not
I mean, it's been a long time. I think God needs to forgive and forget, He's being kind of a sussy baka right now.
well, yeah.
How do
We
know?
can talk about it afterward, because I want you to
You're right.
to
I'm sorry.
express the things that you have to say before,
Can I just say, though, how do we know that he doesn't forgive?
them, the fallen demons.
Yeah, how do we know that?
Oh, that's in the Bible.
Oh, I haven't read it.
I have. I've read it 9 times. So
Ew, I'm sorry.
I had to.
Ew.
I had to. I was raised in a cult.
You
All
couldn't
right.
just cut out a little hole and slip Ender's Game in there
I
or
am
something?
nothing but somebody that wants to be a know-it-all and perceived as studious. So
That is true.
I did the damn thing, which is why I'm not a Christian.
Okay, so basically, evil demons, their whole job is to infiltrate our lives and tempt us to sin, and then like that kind of happens just like through like everyday activity. So like anything that might be considered a sin that we might fall into, like supposedly we would be affected through like demon interaction,
Sure.
like steering us in that direction.
Like your consumption of wine, or your cigarettes,
Exactly.
or your masturbation.
Exactly. No, and I'm 100% serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then when it gets like even worse is when demons try to actually interact with us, like physically, mentally, and emotionally. I guess I'll say this: the reason that I said that about that, like there might be a demon here, is because I did, like the night before, I kind of had like a little bit of like a mental break, and like I did kind of have like a personal revelation about all of these things, and like feeling like, you know, I'm doing all of these things that are not serving me and my life.
Sure.
And like I just kind of realized like that might actually be like evil, like interaction steering me in that direction. And so it might be like more prevalent than I thought.
Okay. So you think basically you're worried there might be demonic influence in your life, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think that there has always been.
Okay.
But yeah, I think just like that realization of like I actually have to take control of my own life and my own actions and not give in to certain temptations that will steer me in a worse direction.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'm reserving comments for until you've.
Yeah, I'm biting my tongue off right now.
Yes.
I want you to say your piece. Do you mean being gay?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's
Listen,
the only thing she's doing right. By the
dude,
Lord.
I
I'm
listened.
nailing right now.
I listen to so many priests talk about stuff, and like not too many of them really talked about that, but like there were a couple where I was like, I feel like this is actually you know, the devil's way of infiltrating religion, and that's what's steering
that
people away.
homophobia is
like
the devil's
hatred,
way.
spreading hatred into religion. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
see what
that's-
you're saying. It
and
like
that's
corrupts the religion. It corrupts God's love.
And then it steers
Yeah.
people away from God.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, because why would God make somebody gay if, you know? Yeah, I never
Right.
understood that, you know?
Or like they were talking about like people being trans and how that was like they're just being influenced by demons. And I was like, this has gone off the rails here. Like that's not.
Yeah, you've
Part of
lost the
it.
plot.
Yeah.
Like if, well, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. As far as like a demon's supposed appearance, even though they're non-corporeal, like they're not actually physical beings, they can appear like angelic or like beautiful or like something good, and that is meant to make people believe that they are good in order to get them to do bad things. So that's one.
Oh, I'm pretty, and I'm telling you to smoke crack, so it's okay to smoke crack because I'm beautiful.
Right. Exactly. Or, well, okay, I guess here's another example. One of the priests that I was listening to was talking about this girl who had a dream, and in the dream this beautiful man came to her, and like in her real life she was trying to like be a musician, and the man in the dream had her sign a contract in blood for her to like become like a successful famous musician.
Based.
And then like in the dream, the like once she signed the contract, it burst into flames and like ashes fell all around. And then she woke up, and when she woke up, her finger was cut and there were ashes around her bed. And then she became extremely successful. I didn't look into who this was, but I think she was like Filipino, they said. But she became extremely successful.
Interesting.
And then she got AIDS.
Hard to look up.
Yeah. Or I think she like maybe was like experimenting with drugs and got AIDS intravenously that way. And then like when all of that was happening, like she told her mom what had happened, like that she had this dream and then became famous and then got AIDS. And then her mom came and like brought like a priest who or whatever, and like they had her like sign a new contract, and then once she signed the contract, she choked out and died, and then a few minutes later she woke up again. She didn't have any more AIDS and she was totally fine. I'm not saying that I know this to be true. I'm saying this is what a priest said in an interview.
I'm gonna go ahead
and tell you that's not true.
That no shot, dude.
I don't know.
Absolutely not true.
I don't know.
I do.
Shit happens.
No, I'm telling you that's not true.
That's not possible.
That's not how that.
You don't just fix AIDS.
None of that works that way.
With Jesus.
I don't know. Maybe.
And also, it's like, okay, you got famous and you got AIDS, but somehow
You also did intravenous drugs with dirty needles.
right?
Like that's not. That's just
somehow you did. You know, you
did that.
You're packed with the. Why the fuck would your pact with the demon be like? All right, you're gonna get successful, and then AIDS. Like, what is that?
If you
what is that
ever
doing?
sign a pact with a demon and become famous, you won't forget about me, right?
Absolutely not.
Well,
Hell
she might have been supposedly one of the 27 Club if she had actually died.
Shit happens in life. Like if you go from being just some person in the world and then go to being a famous person.
Presumably, you're in the Philippines. You're in the Philippines. You're not not loaded, right?
It's
But you go to be
right.
like
Your ability to do intravenous drugs or have a lot of wanton unprotected sex with people that you don't know the status of is elevated immediately after you become famous.
But no, that does remind me though, the prosperity gospel, that's like another example of like demons infiltrating our world, because the prosperity gospel, that's like people wanting to give to God so that they get back like earthly riches. Mm-hmm. And that like in itself is evil.
To bolster up what you're saying or the validity of what you're saying, in the Bible it does say there will be sheep in wolves clothing, that will try to lead the congregation away and will be successful in doing that. That is in the Bible. That is something that they say. So yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your validation.
Oh, I'm gonna dismantle it here in a bit, but
I mean,
I
whatever.
got you right.
That's just the demon of capitalism.
I'm the demon.
You are no, and I'll explain to you why. No, okay, so they can also be ugly or scary looking. Like they can present themselves as that, obviously, to be scary. Mm-hmm. Like they'll do that. But more often than not, they'll come to you, like you'll see them as like a black fog or a mist, a shadow, possibly in like a human or man-like form of it, like a shadow, smoke. Like those things are the most common like appearances that like you might see if you actually were to see a demon. So their goal, if they're trying to actually interact with you, their goal is to break down your will in order to possess you. And the reason that demons want to possess a person is because they're more comfortable having a physical form, and then also they can use your physical form to cause other damage, like to your body, to other people, etc.
What would you do if you were a demon possessing? Like, what would you do? Like, I would eat just like a fuck ton of tacos.
Oh, like if I didn't have a body,
yeah, and then
I
just
wanted
like
to
went
have a
into
body.
somebody else's body. Yeah, I would, and whippets. I would just do whippets and taco. I would eat a fuck ton of tacos until I threw up.
Yeah, it would probably mostly be food related.
Yeah.
I'd also probably do a bit of fucking.
Yeah, I'd probably put something in my butt,
Just that's just like normal stuff. Maybe smoke a cigarette,
You're already doing that.
I could already do all those things. Hey, maybe I am a demon.
What would you do?
Yeah, you're the demon.
What would you do?
If I was a demon?
And possessing somebody else's body, right? So like,
if I was a demon and possessing someone else's body, well, like I would try to live a life of absolute luxury, right? Like I want to be in the 1%. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of the Trump kids or something. Somebody with a bunch of money, and I just want to.
You want to be one of the Trump kids?
That's
like
fucked up.
Somebody with an egregious amount of
like
wealth.
an immoral amount of wealth.
But like not like Elon Musk rich, because you'd have to be like
Well, that clearly that body's already occupied by a demon.
with a demon. Yeah, you'd have to be like, removed from society to a certain extent. That I would not like.
You still want to be able to walk amongst.
I want to mingle.
peons.
I want to fuck.
Yeah.
I want to do shit like that. But like, yeah, something. I just want to have a bunch of money.
Nice.
I just want a bunch of tacos.
I
Yeah.
could buy that with a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And whippets.
See, that's the thing, Jesse. If you have a wish, you need to wish for 3 more wishes, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So then you can have like all the tacos forever.
I'm just saying, cut out the middleman. Why do I just give me the tacos? I don't need the money. I just need the tacos and the whippets.
Because then you can buy other stuff too. What if you get sick of tacos?
I won't, because my whole plan is to eat until my stomach explodes.
See, I want to have enough money to have like a private chef who will make the exact thing I'm craving for.
But it's
when
like,
I'm craving for it.
You're also going to be mean to him because you're a demon.
No.
Well, yeah, because you're a demon.
I don't have to be mean as a demon.
You do.
I mean, honestly, they told me to go and create chaos. Like, I'll go and create the fucking chaos. I don't have to be mean about it to create chaos. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You're a Trump kid. Chaos
but
follows
what if I'm
where
like
you go.
the good one that doesn't talk? Like
Is there? I don't think she's good though. I think she just doesn't talk.
I don't think she does anything.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think she does anything. She just kind of.
I know she's not as pretty as Ivanka, according to her dad.
Weird.
The process of possession, it can take days, months, or even years. And demons don't really even care how long it takes because time to them doesn't exist. They're there for eternity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're just in it for the tacos.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. They can also get inside of other things because, like I said, they're more comfortable having a physical form. So, like, it's not just humans like that they'll try to possess, and it's like a lot easier for them, like, to say to just like hop into a statue, and they'll just like be in a statue, or like, for example, when I was hanging out with this witch coven. when I was in college, there was this rock that we were like carrying around with us, and like one of my witch friends like handed it to me, and they were like, here, there's a demon in this rock, and I was like holding it, and like you could very much feel like the energy inside the rock. Like it wasn't a normal rock. It was like there was like something chilling inside of it, and it was like happy there. Like it wasn't, I don't think it was an evil demon, but I could definitely feel like it was like hanging out on the rock.
Zach Baggins has a whole museum full of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like demon paintings and stuff. You think there's ever been a demon in like a toaster?
I mean, probably. I don't know. Maybe. I'm sure a demon has interacted with a toaster at the very least.
You like put it in at like for like a 2, but it comes out at a 7.
I think that every currently manufactured TV probably has demons resting in them.
Okay, well that's a little silly, but anyway,
that's silly. Okay. This whole thing is
That's mean. That was mean.
You're being mean.
That was mean.
I'm trying to teach
That
you
was a little mean.
about demons, and I'm trying to save your soul, and you're just being really mean to me.
It was a little condescending. However,
I think being straight up and honest is the best thing. But I was being a little glib.
Okay.
I don't think it's
all right. Yeah, I
it's
think
all
that's better.
silly. I'm just saying that if we're stretching the limits of our, he asked if it could be in a toaster. I'm just saying that all TVs are demons. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think all TVs are demons. I think that.
But I do think all cats are girls.
I think all cats are girls
I
as
agree.
well. Anyway, so when like a person is like getting like an exorcism on them, the demon it can be removed from the person, but it can't be destroyed. So it's just like you know, you're just like hey, like get out of here, go somewhere else, not inside this person.
Get out of here, demon.
And it can literally go like anywhere else it wants to. Like it can't necessarily just like jump to another person, because it takes a long time and a lot of energy, to like get inside of a person. So like once it's out of the person, like it could technically like, you know, just like walk on over to the next house, you know, down the street, and try to start something there. But more often than not, like they're not gonna like stick around like in the area because they can literally go anywhere because like space and time are not of consequence to demons. So yeah.
Why won't they leave Keanu Reeves alone?
Is he possessed or?
No, he played John Constantine in a movie.
Okay. I don't know that. Okay, never mind. All right. Sometimes a demon will act like a regular person in order to fool the people around it. So like if you know someone who's possessed, you might not necessarily know that they're possessed unless you're like really paying attention and being like, that's not like you in there. But like otherwise they might seem just like a regular person. Yeah. How do demons manifest? As in, how do they get here? Ouija boards, obviously.
Did you know it's actually pronounced Ouija?
Ouija?
I'm serious. So the guy at the board game company who made them just combined the French word yes and the German word yes to create Ouija.
All right.
Fun fact.
Cool. I don't care. The common pronunciation is Ouija, but it is definitely spelled Ouija.
It's a fun fact.
Yeah. Another way that they can get here is just people like generally engaging in sinful activity, the 7 deadly sins, adultery, drugs, alcohol, generally destructive behavior. By doing those things, you're basically like allowing like a portal, like an evil presence in your life. I also wrote, if you want a demon, it's pretty easy to get one. How can you tell if there's a demon in your house? They will absorb your energy. You'll feel lethargic or depressed. You can smell them, like rotten flesh or sulfur. You might hear a growl, and it sounds like surround sound, like you can't pinpoint where it's coming from. It's just kind of everywhere. They might make contact with you by hitting you, pushing you, shoving you, or scratching you, or like even just like touching you, just like if you just feel like a hand on you, which is something that I've experienced a lot. The air will feel thick, like there's a fog, and the temperature might change. It can get either colder or warmer. And apparently it's more common for it to get warmer. What is a possession? No, so this one's pretty... there's a lot to this that I learned that I didn't know about. But apparently, according to this one priest that I was listening to, he said 1 in 5,000 people have been or will be possessed.
That is a crazy number.
Why?
That's just a lot of people.
More people
That's really high.
have been have ingested atrazine into their system.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's just like
I think that the number is pretty fucking low, honestly.
1 in 5,000. There are 7 billion people on the planet.
There's 7 billion people on the planet, but the whole goal, right, of like this Bible narrative, the whole goal is for that. Basically, the devil is trying to recruit for his side. Basically, he came to God and was like, look, dog, honestly, give humans free will and they'll be over here with me, partying up, whatever. So like the whole goal is for them to recruit other people to their side. If you think about it, their numbers have to be fucking crazy because it is so hard to live a righteous, just whatever life in the rules that are set out within Christianity and the core tenets. So from the beginning of time, their numbers have to be super stacked so that there's only 1 in every 5,000 people
I just feel like
possessed.
Well,
it's
listen.
crazy to me. Everybody should be possessed.
Listen,
Their numbers are nuts.
Getting possessed, that doesn't mean that they have your soul.
No, I know that. What I was saying was that there should be more recruiters because from the beginning of time,
they're everywhere.
till now,
it's everywhere all the time.
That's what I'm saying. So then I would posit that
the number should be much higher.
That the number of people who are possessed should be higher because the amount of demons
trying to get into people
that should be trying to get into people should be a crazy amount from the beginning of time until today. All the people that have died and become demons because they were like sinners or whatever, and Satan has their soul. If he sends those babies back up here, that's a lot of fucking people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Genghis Khan was going around raping and pillaging, and he had a whole fucking army. Like, all those guys are in there.
But the thing is, it's not easy to possess someone. Like, it takes a lot of work, and like not every demon is just going around being like, oh, I want to get inside of a human. Like, that's just not what it is. Like, because like they can be in a rock or a statue, or like
Or
they
a
can do
toaster.
something else. You
I
know,
guess that's true, but then I would just wonder what the ratio is from active demons to dormant demons, like actively trying to possess someone, to ones that are more dormant. Because like if he's just chilling in a fucking rock, like what's the point of that?
To what end?
Because
It's
your
like-
goal is to get people to sin.
it's like someone who's autistic or like whatever, who wants like a compression blanket.
Autistic demon?
I understand what you're saying, that they need to have need to be within a form of something.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying there.
And not all demons are evil.
Right. And I would like to know the ratios of that as well. I know you don't have these answers. I'm just saying.
I don't. I'm
These are
just telling you
questions
what
I
I
have.
do know.
Okay.
I mean, I might be able to answer some of your questions. I feel like I've been able to engage in this conversation.
No, you're doing great.
You're doing great.
Thank you. All right. So there's like a couple of different levels of like possession before like a person is like actually possessed. Like it kind of starts out with just like being interacted with by a demon, and then it goes on. But I'll explain these to you. Okay. So there's oppression, which is it's like a spiritual attack when like the demon is trying to like influence like your thoughts and emotions and possibly your actions, and it like starts just with like you're abnormally afraid possibly of like demons or just of anything else, just abnormal fear that wouldn't like regularly make any sense. Inability to sleep, having nightmares, which this is something that I experience a lot actually, and also the fear. And then prolonged periods of unexplained depression. Oh, I have that too. All right, the next level is vexation, which is physical attacks on the person, like cuts, scratches, burns, puncture wounds, writing on the skin, bites, like beatings or blows that leave bruises, swelling, bloody sores, broken bones, or like signs that like isn't just like writing on the skin, like a 666, you know, for example. They also might have like an illness that has no known cause and also no known cure, and it just kind of like comes and goes on its own. Difficulties at work or with personal relationships, and in extreme cases they can like throw you around and stuff. Like like that's like where they're like ripping the blanket off you, like pulling your foot out, whipping you against a wall, moving your bed, that kind of shit. All right. Obsession is the next one. A demon will put a diabolical thought or image in someone's head, and it might cause them to do something like murder. And this one, it's the hardest one to tell if a person is just mentally ill or if it's like a demon. It's, you know, because it's like you're like on trial for murder and you're like, oh, I didn't do this, I'm crazy. But like maybe you're not crazy, maybe it was a demon. Yeah. All right. So then obviously the fourth level is actual possession, where the demon gets inside you. It can control your actions, the things that you say, and it's they're not actually attached to your soul. So, like people who are possessed, they can still like go find a priest and be like, "Hey, man, get this out of me," because they're still like a separate. It's like almost kind of like having a split personality of like there's a demon in me, but I'm also still here. And like it doesn't have your soul. Like you still have your own free will. You didn't sell your soul. the demon can't steal it. That's just like not, yeah. There's like a protocol for when you actually go to a priest and need to get an exorcism. There's no such thing as an emergency exorcism. That's just not a thing. And I think like the number one issue with that is that if the person is actually crazy and you say like, oh yes, you are definitely possessed, and you just try to like exorcise them and it doesn't work, you might actually be validating their idea that they're possessed when actually they have a mental illness. And so before you can jump right into exorcism, you have to go through like a psychiatrist, psychologist, family doctor. You have to like rule out anything that's like mental or physical, like that could actually be happening to them other than actually being possessed by a demon. Mm-hmm. And then the next step would be to see if they have an aversion to things like crosses, holy water, etc. And then obviously like you would look for things that are like supernatural. Yeah. Like levitation, them speaking different languages, mm-hmm. Them having knowledge about you or someone else in the room and like they don't know you, and like, like demons, like they'll say shit like just like about your personal life. Right. Yeah. So, okay. I got on a roll here. All right. How do you get rid of a demon? So like a regular person or like someone who is not a Catholic priest can't properly do an exorcism because, and the reason for this is that you need like a person who is like the closest connection to God, mm-hmm. isn't like a regular human going around sinning, doing human shit. And like the priests who do these exorcisms, they have to actually prepare themselves in their lives before they do an exorcism. They have to just like do everything good and holy and do confession and just like completely be like in the best condition religiously as possible. Right.
What's interesting? Just quick religion lore. So Catholics are like about this shit, you know what I'm saying? And they're also one of the only religions that will like undo things that were done in their religion based on finding things out about the priest. So like if a priest did a baptism and it turns out that he wasn't following like the tenets or was sinning in some way,
that baby's
or whatever,
just not baptized.
That baby's not baptized.
Mm-hmm.
You need to like re-baptize them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
But okay, so the reason for this is that like the priests themselves isn't like the real exorcist. Right. Jesus is the exorcist.
And is it because of the through line to the Pope? Is that why it's Catholics only? Because the Pope is God's mouthpiece on earth, and so then a priest of the Catholic Church would have the most direct line?
I mean, I guess.
How are they?
Because it's like...
I wasn't going to bring this up, but like... I'm just gonna bring it up. Like, how are they spiritually pure if like they're like diddling kids and shit?
Right. Well, can I just say this? Like, this is just me speaking freely. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily believe that a Catholic priest is the only person who could successfully do an exorcism.
Yeah, it's like, who said? Was it the Catholics?
Yeah, if we're like, gonna have exorcism, this needs to be more of a populist movement. You know what I'm saying?
Honestly,
like, I'm just saying, like, I think that like I could do it if. Like I followed.
If you, Stacey, had 24 hours to prepare.
if I like didn't commit any of the 7 deadly sins for a while and like repented and shit and like made myself as holy as possible, mm-hmm. and made myself like a direct line to God, I think that would be a possibility.
Right.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. But
you could become a slayer, dude.
Right, I could. But because most people don't live like that, that's why you go to a Catholic priest and they're the ones who can do it.
Right.
Okay. All right. So basically step 1, make sure they don't have a mental illness or other physical issues. Step 2, check for aversion to holy things. Step 3, look for signs of demon possession. version. Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm trying to catch up in my notes. Okay. Look for signs of like superhuman strength, knowledge of different languages, things they wouldn't otherwise know about. Step 4, determine a point of entry of the demon. So like, how did the demon get into the person that's possessed? What are they doing in their lives? And like, or like people around them, like, because sometimes like if it's children, so like in the Catholic Church they believe that like children under the age of 7, there's no way that they could have possessed themselves, that they could have like gotten that demon inside them themselves. Like there has to be like someone else around them
that's really scary.
That's messing with some shit. But children over 7 are capable of like saying like playing with a Ouija board or like other things, like calling a demon to themselves. So basically just like finding out how did that person get possessed. And then step 5 is to help the individual return to their normal spiritual life or help them create a new spiritual life if they didn't have one before. There's no such thing as exorcism tourism, which is like, so like if someone's being exorcised, there's not going to be like other people in the room who are like, oh, this is interesting, I just want to watch this. Like it's literally just going to be the priests and like maybe like a doctor like on call, or like a family member or friend of the person who's possessed, like, you know. And they didn't say this, but I imagine that that's like just for the person who's there to like have an attachment, so that they at least like recognize someone, know what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, I think I already said this, but like a demon can't just jump from one person to the other. Yeah, I did. Okay. Exorcisms are always done in a sacred space, like a church. They're never done in an abandoned house during an electrical storm. But no, the reason for that is because they don't want the devil to be able to choose where he'll be defeated.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. The Catholic Church will exorcise anyone who turns to them for help. They don't have to be Catholic. So like the supernatural things that might be happening during an exorcism, or like just anything to do with demons in general. Like if you see something like a person levitating, or like just anything that seems supernatural, it might not actually be happening in reality. It might be the demon putting those thoughts in your head. So like say if there's like 4 people being like involved in this exorcism, 2 people might see the person being exorcised levitate, while the other 2 people in the room don't see that. This is a quote from the priest that like I took notes from. He said, when they say Jesus saves, what is he saving us from? He's not just saving us from a bad day, he's saving us from evil. Yeah, so I like that. He also said the devil's cleverest ruse is to convince us that he does not exist. Okay. And
It's classic.
The greatest trick the devil ever, or the greatest lie the devil ever told.
yeah.
I've seen the exorcism of Emily Rose. That's a banger.
So on that note, he also said at one point that people who are like Christians or like have some belief in God are way more likely to be possessed, because
the Satan's already got us.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Because if you don't have a belief, then if anything, it might just scare you into then having a belief. Yeah. Okay. What are your feelings about that, Lynette?
I'm waiting until you're done.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know.
It's just like a larger conversation to be had, so I don't want to like continue to like interject on my thoughts when you have more to say.
Okay. He also said like having a demonic experience can actually cause a mental illness. So like you can be possessed by a demon and you can be crazy at the same time.
I was actually going to
a crazy person can be possessed by a demon.
I was actually going to bring that up when you were saying that you have to go through so many steps before they'll allow you to be exercised. Excised? Is it excised or exercised? Okay, whatever. It can't
Probably
be. Okay,
excised.
whatever. I think it's
probably
excised. So because like a lot of people have a mental illness of some sort, you know? And not only that, but like
Yeah, like I have like chronic depression, but I'm not like delusional. You know?
And then I was thinking, like, you know, your mental illness can sometimes not. It doesn't always manifest. So it's like I want to know what that timeline is that you get checked out by a psychiatrist, because you're not on 10 with your mental illness.
For how long? How long
time.
does the psychiatrist see you? Just
So
like
it's
how
like-
many sessions? You know, over how long a period of time?
I think
Do
with
they
the
have
thing,
access to your medical records?
I think what the thing is when you get like checked out for mental illness, like that, it's like, say like, for example, you're sitting with the doctor and then all of the doctor's books fly off the shelf.
No,
Like,
but
that's
you
kind
said
of
that
an
they
extreme
have
example.
they have to like rule out that you're not having a mental illness episode before they.
Well, it like they have to rule out that that's not like the issue. Like
That's
they
what
have
I'm
to
saying
say
is-
like, oh, it is likely that this person is possessed because I can't attribute this specific thing to a mental illness, or I can't I can't attribute this specific thing to a physical illness.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I was just wondering how long the psychiatrist would see a person before the church deemed like, oh,
Before he could make his call.
before
one way
he
or
could
the
make
other.
his call about whether they are in need of an exorcism or not.
I think it probably just depends on what happens. Yeah. Like if something supernatural happens, like that's a pretty clear sign.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
No. I don't
Okay.
think you're following me, but that's okay.
I don't know. I think that's a hard question to answer. Like, no, I do. I think that there are a lot of mental illnesses where, like a person could be. Okay, I'll say this. There are Catholic priests that go into mental hospitals just in case someone was passed over, and like they'll continue to check up on these people.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like, yeah, like it could be just manifesting as a mental illness, but it's not.
So I guess the thing that I'm caught up on is then like, how do we know anything is anything? If that's the case, like, how are you going to tell for sure that someone's being possessed?
Well, yeah, because it sounds like even if the psychiatrist is like, yo, this person is schizophrenic, the priests are just like,
it's just the demon manifesting itself as schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Or like,
And it could.
so that's what I'm saying. Like, then
what's the point of the process at all? But
And
also,
if-
why do it if it's not like standardized? It should be standardized.
And if, like, say a demon is manifesting itself as schizophrenia, then what the fuck does the medication do?
Nothing.
When they're treated.
That was one of the points that he made. He said that if you medicate someone for a mental illness and it doesn't work, that is like another reason to believe that.
That's
they might be
also
problem with
me,
that, though,
because when
is
people
because
start
it, like-
to feel better, they stop taking their medication.
But also, like, it takes a long time for those medications to start working.
3 months plus.
And that's
Right.
to even see a slight improvement, right? To see any drastic improvement, that can take.
Which, and can I just go back to there's no such thing as an emergency exorcism?
Right. No,
Okay, fair.
I
You
get what
did-
you're
you
saying.
did
That's why
establish that.
I was inquiring about timelines of like, when are we sure, and how are we sure, and what are the safeguards to bullshit? Like, if I'm schizophrenic and I believe that I'm possessed, and I go to my psychiatrist, they give me medication to treat my schizophrenia, and my medication isn't working. Is it not working because the dosage is wrong? Is it like all that shit just takes time to like figure out in like years? So it's like, how long are we putting people on the exorcism waiting list before they're excised?
Well, I think that if there are things like psychologically that like fall through at that point, then they might be like, oh, how do you feel with this cross near your face? Do your eyes roll back into your head?
Oh, you're saying, okay, so you're basically saying that, like, there's checks and balances.
Yeah.
We're not just relying on, because I was taking it as more of like, if either or these things are happening, you're either you could be experiencing a mix of all of these things, or, you know, like, you could just be, you know, thinking you're talking to demons, or there's something inside you, and it could possibly be mental illness. We'll take that one as a cause, but you're saying that it's more of a checks and balances. At least have 2 of the 4 or whatever happening to you.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I see.
Yeah. Okay. He also said, because this was like kind of a Q&A situation, and someone like asked about ghosts, like, are ghosts evil? And he said 99% of spirits are evil. There's 1% of ghosts that are like your loved ones coming back to like make sure that you are comforted.
See, I would think that it'd be
spooky.
the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is coming from a Catholic priest.
Because I feel like most people are good, right? And if spirits are just dead people, then
Most of them would be like
good. Like at least normal, like average, right?
Yeah.
Not particularly
No,
good, but not particularly evil at the very least.
And I do agree with you guys about that, especially going back to not all demons are evil. Like, it's a mix. It's like humans, you know, like there's good, there's neutral, and there's bad humans. And I feel like demons are kind of the same way. So like, yeah, you can't say like all ghosts that you encounter are evil. Yeah. So, but that's just what this priest said.
right.
But I mean, I do think that there is like some merit in that like if you're having like a haunting going on and it's causing you disturbance, that's probably not a good thing.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I've experienced both, the good kind and the bad kind. Because I know dead people, but anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, so this is I'm getting really close to the end. So anyway, I watched this interview with this girl who used to be a witch. She was a 5th generation witch. So like 5 generations
Right.
of her family were all witches, and then she became a Christian.
Okay.
So what had happened was, like, she just kind of like grew up with like witchcraft around her. Like, her family was like white witches. But when she was a little kid, she had like demonic experiences and was like, oh, this is bad. I don't like this. But like, she never like attributed that to like her family or like what they were doing. But then when she was a teenager, her family moved to this different town, and her mom became friends with a black witch. And the black witch told her family, they were like, oh, your daughter has like this great power where like she can actually like commune with like spirits like more easily. And so they opened a portal in their house for the daughter to like commune with spirits, and one of them told her that like one of the people there were going to die soon. Like, do you want to know which one it is? And she was like, no, I don't want to know, especially if it's me. I don't want to know if I'm going to die. And so then a few weeks later, her dad hung himself.
Oh my God.
And then the woman that was friends with them, that convinced their family to do all of this stuff, just disappeared. She never talked to them again. So it was like that woman was like acting like as like a demonic presence in their lives to facilitate this thing happening. Anyway, so then after that, she was like, to hell with witchcraft. this is the wrong path. I don't want anything to do with it. While she was a witch, though, she would like astral project. And she talked about that and how like there's a silver cord that like connects your spirit body to your human body so that you can come back into it.
Okay.
And she said that that's actually extremely dangerous, though, because if you're doing that, that cord could get cut. And if that cord gets cut, then your body could die. And if like you're in the wrong place, like there could be like demons around you and shit, and they can like take you.
To do what?
Just to be
dicks.
Like volleyball with your spirit? Like what?
I mean, I don't know. But it was she just said it was bad. But then she said that when she became a Christian, she could still astral project, but it was better because she had Jesus. And it was like, and she was
the cord. Jesus be my cord.
When you look back and you only saw one cord, that was Jesus.
Take the cord.
Carrying your spirit.
Yeah.
No, I know that shit sounds totally crazy, but the fact is, I do have a person in my own life that I do know who has astral projected with Jesus and told me about like all of their like experiences, all the shit that they went around and did. So like, I mean, I'm just saying like hearing that type of account from people, both personally in my own life and, you know, this random person who's like, no witchcraft, Jesus is good, you know, like
sure.
it makes sense to me from like what I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen The Craft.
Yeah. And she also said that like when it comes to like, you know, like demons, that like if you as a witch, like a lot of what they do, and like, and also this is another thing that I experienced, but like any kind of witch, even if you're a good witch and you have good intentions, no matter what you do, you can't actually control like what's going on. Like you like can maybe like put the demon in a jar or something, which I've seen happen, or a rock. Like you can trap the demon, you can do something, but like you're never actually safe unless you let Jesus take care of the demon for you. And so that was like another part of why she was like, I'm a Christian now.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing that kind of turned me on to talking about this in general is I watched this documentary called Demon House. Have you guys seen it?
No, but that's the name of my band.
Is Zach Baggins in that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not seen it. I want to really bad. What's that on?
It is really, really good. I watched it on Prime.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I fucking hate Zach Baggins so much. I want to fist fight that man.
All right, this is going to be the last thing that I'll talk about. But okay, so there was this house in Gary, Indiana.
Yep.
And this family, like they were like renting the house, and the two sons like got possessed. Like they were like little boys, and they were like fighting with each other, going at it. And like then also like, okay, so it was like the two boys, they had a sister, their mom and their grandma, they all lived in the house. And their mom also, like, she said that she saw like a dark figure pacing back and forth in their living room. And then like later when she like went to look in the living room, there were like muddy footprints on the floor, and they were like big feet. And that didn't make sense because no one in the house had feet that size.
The Conjuring, right?
No.
Oh.
That's so funny. You bring up The Conjuring.
But, okay. Are you about to talk about those dickheads?
Those dickheads do come up.
Okay.
They make an appearance in my story, yeah.
Yeah, that was like in one
nice.
of the Conjuring movies. Plot point. Like a beat was that there was like muddied footprints of like a super Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I mean, maybe,
It was
I don't
like a
know.
big clown guy.
When was The Conjuring
Or a
made?
long-legged
The movie?
Yeah.
The one that I'm talking about had to be like, this was like the last one they made before like the little spin-off things that they would do. So,
Where they did like Annabelle.
Right.
Before they started to focus more on the
so
Warrens.
I feel like this was like the Conjuring 4. Maybe?
So what year was it made?
Like
2012, 2013?
no, it's later than that. It was like more recent.
16?
2018, 2019.
Well, then it is possible that it's derived from that experience, because what I'm talking about happened in like 2011.
Okay. Oh, I don't think that it was set that early though.
But they still could have used the
Yeah, they do that a lot. In these.
Right.
inspiration
Yeah, that's
from
true.
But so anyway, yeah, Zach Baggins bought their house because like they moved out because they were all freaked out. But okay, and like he made this documentary and he like interviewed like all the people that were involved with the family, like they're the CPS workers and the police and whoever else, and they all were completely like, yes, these people were possessed. This definitely was a real thing. Like for example, they were like in a hospital and one of the little boys like walked backwards up the wall, and like a bunch of people saw it, like the workers, like the CPS and like the doctors and shit. Like they actually saw the shit happen. And then so Zach Baggins bought this house, and him and his film crew were like trying to make a documentary, and him and another guy on their film crew, that this is what stood out to me. Like there was a ton of other stuff in this documentary, but this is what really stood out to me, was like kind of near the beginning when they first like were going like through the house. Zach did not want to leave. Like he was like standing in the doorway, and like the film crew was just like, you know, like, come on, like get out of the house, like we're like, you know, we gotta go do other stuff now. And Zach, like, he was just like very kind of like lethargic and calm, and he was just like, no, like I want to stay here. And it was just like really creepy, like he was like being affected, you know what I mean? And then there was this other guy on his film crew later on who got like just like really violent and crazy, and he ended up remaining that way. He got like a 666 tattoo, and like I don't know, I can't like explain this very well. Like I saw it all happen and play out, but like it, like I don't think that they like made that shit up. Like it was weird. It was really weird.
I think Zach is a great showman. He puts on a hell of a show, but I think that's all it is at the end of the day.
I don't know. He ended up demolishing the house though, because it was like too bad. Like there was like too much bad.
So what's with the property now?
I don't know.
Because I feel like Gary, Indiana could probably use some low income housing or something.
I don't know. It's just a lot, but like he bought it and then he demolished it. So
Damn.
I don't know. I don't feel like that was like a very good like example like towards my case. But I'm just saying I watched this documentary and it did really freak me out.
Don't get me wrong. Like I watched the shit out of Ghost Adventures. Like
no, I'll say this.
like,
I watched a ghost show. I watched like a ghost hunting show, and like this was part of my issue doing this whole thing, was like I wanted to find something that made sense, that seemed real to me. And I watched this ghost hunter show, and like the whole time I just thought, like, if these people like go into this building and they don't have any actual hauntings happen to them, they're not gonna like have a show.
Yeah.
So they're gonna superimpose like
because they got
these ghosts and shit.
Well,
they,
and it's
got to pay
like,
for the show.
Reality TV is fake, right? And they spend a lot of like, you know, contriving plot lines and whatever to give the guise of something real happen. Like it's just easy to fake shit. That's why like like ghost hunting show. It's like those Finding Bigfoot shows too. It's like, you know, y'all still ain't found Bigfoot.
Crazy low overhead, right? And you just go out in the middle of the woods, run around for 45 minutes to an hour.
Anything, any sound,
and you can cut together a whole season out of that, you know?
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is I wanted to find something that made sense to me. And I just kind of went down this rabbit hole, and it made a lot of things make sense for me. things that I've seen, things that I've experienced, things that I'm going through in my life recently. And so that's why I do like believe the things that I've researched, that I've talked about.
I think if that shit's useful for you in your life, then fucking more power to you, bro. Like, I'm happy for you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you brought up that, like, demons are, but they are to kind of convince you to do wrong, to do things that aren't right or whatever the fuck, and you were like, and that kind of makes what's going on with me make sense. And I would say that, like, if putting things in that context helps you change and improve the things that you want to improve, then there's nothing wrong. I don't think that there's anything wrong with religion through and through, because people need and want guidance,
People are gonna do good things and shitty things in the name of whatever. I don't think religion's inherently bad.
I don't think it's inherently bad. I think, like, to a certain extent, it is necessary for some people. I mean, it's necessary for some people, and I think it offers an understanding of the world, or like what's going on in the world, and motivations and whatever. To, like, some people may struggle to understand that shit just in society. I feel like religious rules are birthed out of societal rules, right? Like, that's why we jotted that shit down, to kind of help people navigate the world, because it doesn't come intuitively to everyone. And also, people sometimes need something to give them a push. You feel it's easier for most people to do something or to better their lives in some way if they feel like there's another force that they're accountable to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's a reason that's part of, like, AA, like, it's helpful for people, for a lot of people,
For me, I don't think that it's necessarily a force that I like. What I feel, I don't feel like it's a force that I'm accountable to. It's more of, I don't want to spiral further into this other direction that's not doing me any good. I want to go more towards what will benefit me.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. And more power to you in that endeavor. I think my issues with all of this mostly stem from
your childhood.
No, just like a very finite look at the world. Like, to me, this doesn't go far enough. Like, I've read H.P. Lovecraft, and I just feel like the Christian narrative of spirits and possessions or whatever is not that there's no merit in it at all, but to me, it's like just a limited imagination of what the fuck could be going on.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about a Bronze Age religion here. I mean,
that's what and it's just like, it was penned by a group of people. It was revised by the Catholic Church. Just a lot of the tenets was just taken, and they kind of just dictated how we were going to read the text. The text also, before that was Judaism and the Muslim religion. So it's like, I just feel like it's too limited, because I've done D&D campaigns with more imagination, and it's like these demons have had all of this time.
I've read Harry Potter
to
fanfic
do
and
it's like, I just feel like all of this is just such a limited. And there's other places in the world, you know what I mean? There's like African religions, they believe in a lot of like spirits, and there's like the islands, they believe in a lot of voodoo and stuff like there's a lot of different takes on all of this.
Scientology?
So it is hard
fucking
for
wild.
me. It is hard for me to be like, okay, this is the way, you know, that things are. And then I would also add in that, like, society changes what things are deemed good and what things are deemed bad as society progresses.
Right.
Those things ebb and weave and change. There's no, like, you know, the 7 deadly sins themselves are so vague, I think, because it's like vague notions that encapsulate all of the ways that you can, like, harm the people and
like,
society around you.
I recently saw like a different interpretation of gluttony, which is just like hoarding wealth.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd never heard that interpretation of it before, but like, yeah,
And
I mean,
so
if it's,
like those definitions and, you know, all of those things like change with where you are in a society. So then it's like hard for me to put trust in anybody's like definition of like what would constitute, you know, you allowing Satan into your heart, or what marks you, you know, as a follower of Satan, because those things change, you know?
Right. I guess, like, I'll say this, that, like, I think that there are certain people that can, like, be actors of evil in your life, and that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, they're evil, but it's like, say, like, if you engage with this person, like, if you go down a certain road that involves this person, that's like one way of like, you know, doing like the bad thing, basically.
And so I like the I'm more drawn to the vaguer notions, because, like, you know, you look in, who was the guy, Ramirez was the serial killer out
Richard
in California.
Ramirez, yeah, the Night Stalker.
You look into that man's eyes and you see fucking you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
see evil.
And some people, I think, are evil.
I think that the way that I've always interpreted the Bible, or the thing that like kind of comforts me more, is it's full of metaphor and allegory, and that maybe it's not literal Satan, literal demons.
Yeah, no,
but
the
maybe
demons
it
were like
is-
the Romans occupying
maybe
Judea,
it's
right?
Like temptation and the ills of society that we
Right.
all fall into.
Right.
And so it does kind of, I guess, worry me a little bit. To a certain extent, it doesn't really matter, but it does worry me a little bit to take something that is like a fault in the programming, like the fault of the society and the earth that we live in, and you know, the ills of that society, to take that and to attribute it to like it is because of this outside force that's making you do these things, or is leading you to do these things, when I think that kind of diminishes like willpower, or people understanding like external factors that make you do things you're not proud of. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to have a all around mental illness for the pandemic to have made you really sad and for you to start overeating.
And you also don't
There's
have
a
to be
cause
affected
for
by
it.
a demon
Right.
for that.
Like
stuff
that,
to
there's a
happen.
cause for that. So I don't know. I don't really, it doesn't sit comfortably with me for it to, for us to be, to attribute our, whatever the fuck we're doing to like an outside influence. And because the rules are kind of vague, nobody really knows the whole, like, you know, the hard and fast, like how to actually keep a demon away from you. Like, there's no, none of this is like solidified in like step by steps, and it's all kind of vague. So then in my brain, it's like, well, instead of taking your time in your life and worrying about this and sussing all of that shit out, how about you do know what's good for you and what's bad for you? You understand like the things that are in your life that you know, people get mad at you about, or whatever the fuck. Like, you know, when you're being a piece of shit. So then it would, to me, make more sense to like, let me live every day being as good as I can to everybody, you know, to affect a goodness in the world.
Yeah.
And that output seems like it kind of just makes more sense.
Yeah.
And one more thing, the idea that belief in God can just mark you for Satan because he already has you because you don't believe it. Like, belief in God as a like initial prerequisite to even be considered as like good or holy, to me is like, you know, how petty is God?
No, I agree. I absolutely agree with that.
And also like how short-sighted is he? Do you want people on your team or not, dog? You know what I'm saying? Because like there's people who don't believe in God whose output is good, who
or people who believe in a different God,
or people who believe in a different God. So it's like
Gandhi.
a weird.
Are you gonna say
level.
Gandhi's like a bad dude?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a weird level of bar for entry for somebody who's waging a war. Like, be a better tactician, God.
Yeah. No, and I agree. And like, you know, there's also the argument that like people are like they grow up without even like knowing about that religion.
Right.
So it's like, how would they even know?
Right, but they just automatically marked for evil. And like and there's, to me, just like more interesting lore than the monotheistic religions have to offer. Like, you know, like Irish people have a deep belief in like fairies and spirits of that nature, and I find that stuff like
I don't fuck with fairies, dude.
Super interesting. Like beings that I find it more comfortable for myself to believe that like if spirits do exist, it's not about you. So it's like
they just
don't
exist.
fuck with them. Don't
it's
mess
just their
with them.
world. You're living in it.
You're right. Like it's like they're minding their business, and our paths might cross, and they may get angry with you. They may put a curse on. They may do something to you because you affronted them in some way, but it's not because like everything is about humanity and everything is about you, and people are trying to like, they don't give a fuck about you. They're just doing their thing, you know? And they can be good, bad, vindictive, whatever.
Yeah, but the issue comes when they're being bad to you.
No, I completely agree. An issue does come that way. I just don't jive with the idea that all of these spirits are out here at the behest of some dude trying to lure you to do one thing, or like, to me,
you think it's just dudes trying to get their kicks?
And yeah, and also it like Satan's whole deal doesn't make any sense to me either, really, because one, we only got one side of the story, right? We only know God's version of what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
He could be a liar. We don't know. But it would make more sense to me if Satan's whole deal was like, I want free will and I want to be able to be bad if I want to be bad, or be good if I want to be good, or whatever. I want to make those rules for myself, and I think I should. Also, I'm the same as you, so whatever. If that was his whole deal, it is weird to me that this war, that's like, that Satan is like, I'm going to get more followers than you. More people are going to be tempted to live the way.
It's still about God. He's making it still about God.
Yeah, but also like, if that's the case, then why wouldn't Satan make hell super rad?
Yeah.
And then send demons up here to be like, yo, dog.
Yo, we got chili
come to
dogs
hell.
and water slides.
It's super rad.
Because God still has control over all of that.
I would argue.
See, but then how does any of this matter? Because if God does have control over all of that, then it's not a fair fight.
I would argue that if it's Satan's goal to prove that like he is the alternative, like he did that.
Right.
You know, he got his own kingdom or whatever.
And it's the opposite.
So it is, and it is also
thing.
weird because, like, I guess the lore just crisscrosses in my head. It doesn't make much sense because it's like, so you're telling me that Satan sends demons, wants to lead you away, but also God will send you to hell for punishment. Then Satan's his employee, dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? They were still working towards the same goal. It's the Lord's goal. So then how does any of that make sense? So if that is the case, then those demons coming up to lure you are at God's behest. Ipso facto, you know?
Right. It is. It's like God is it's like a test. It's like
So
all of it
then-
is a test.
So I'm trying to figure out fucking why.
Yeah.
That's weird. And,
No, it's some bullshit.
And
It's-
vindictive and gross. And
Well,
like,
yeah, because
who
if
the
God is
fuck
really
wants to-
omnipotent, why does he need to test you?
Well, and it's like, why do, if you created, so if I like, you know, I had my kids, like I don't fucking create an environment where I'm just like, do you want to lie to me today? Like creating, you know,
Yeah.
a random test for them to do when I could just create, when God could just create an environment where none of that shit, he made us. Like, why'd you put the temptation button
Yeah,
in
he
there?
he didn't put enough enrichment in our cage.
Why you?
It gave us heroin.
Why'd you give us
right?
heroin?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and drugs is another one because that's also like a tenet. And like, this is how we know that Satan's tempting you with drugs or whatever. And it's like, you know, who gives a shit? You know,
Right.
unless that shit is affecting somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, why is that part of the things that you can do wrong? You know?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree, but I think it's more.
And what about slavery? I got so many questions. Because, like, what
Yeah,
was that?
No
What the
problem
fuck
with
was that?
slavery,
Like-
but if I take Molly, I'm going to hell.
Like, huge atrocities done. Where does that line up?
free
Was
will?
that the devil?
What's-
Was the devil in there?
What's the
Okay,
stance on
so
the
then-
Holocaust?
So then if it's like people can make choices to do slavery, but, you know, nobody was tempting them with slavery. That one's just humans' free will and them being like fucking assholes.
I mean, maybe.
But then it's
maybe
like
the
demons
devil was
are
tempting
tempting
them.
you with like cocaine. I don't-
Demons do be tempting you with cocaine.
But
though.
maybe they were like. Why do you think that the demons weren't tempting anyone with slavery? Why do you think that that's not part of it?
Why do I think that the
Like-
demons weren't tempting anyone with slavery?
Why do you think that the people who were slave owners who
The
created
Bible
slavery,
says slavery is good.
does it?
It does.
Of like
It at least
It
condones it.
not only tells you slavery is good, it tells you to beat your slave.
what?
And like gives directions on how to, what is the acceptable way to beat your slave.
Yeah.
That's insane.
But the Bible's also cool with rape. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not that the ideas as far as like extrapolating them out and trying to figure, you know, have get a grasp of what's going on in the world is bad. It is an inherently contradictory book.
Because the thing is, you're still trying to use a thing, again, like I said, written in the Bronze Age to examine 2023. I don't know if it is good. You know, I don't know. I go
mean,
back and forth on the thing.
It's like, yeah, it's like a lot of the things in the Bible are weird and shitty, and like it don't really paint God in the best light, and don't really, you know, paint his followers in the best light. It condones a lot of like fucked up shit. So it's like but in the eyes of the people who wrote the Bible, excuse me, in the eyes of the people who wrote the Bible, you know, those things were fine and normal. But
Slavery is good and normal,
For
actually.
instance,
I don't know.
turn into a pillar of salt. Mm-hmm. Okay, so an angel visits Lot, and he's like, "Yo, the people in the next town." This is where we get like Sodom, like Sodom and Gomorrah. So the people in the next town, Sodom and Gomorrah, like your town, they're all terrible, and they're sex crazed lunatics, and God's gonna destroy the city, so you
Based.
need to like go with your family and run away. So Lot's like, okay. The angel then leaves his house, and as he's leaving the house, people try to rape the angel, and the angel's basically like, yeah, see, that's what I'm telling you. Like, people here, they're fucking wild, dude. So then God is about to destroy the city, and he sends the angel back to tell Lot and his family to like run out of the city and do not look back towards the temptation of the city. Do not look back. So get the kids, get his 2 daughters, wife, they run out of the city. Lot's wife looks back towards the temptation, and God just turns her into a pillar of salt just there, right there. And then Lot and his daughters keep on running. When they find a cave, they go to sleep in the cave, and Lot's daughter rapes him in the cave, and that's fine.
What?
She doesn't get turned into a pillar of salt.
Because she wants to get pregnant, so that's why she does it. And that is just like an addendum to like a blip on the story. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, what do you think is good or evil? Bible? Like, if this is the creation story you want me to believe, and if these are the demons you want me to believe in, then you got to tighten your shit up, because this shit is all over the fucking place.
So what if, I'm going to pose this to you right now, what if the Bible
Go ahead.
is a work of Satan to turn us against God?
So then what is God? I drift back to the idea that like demons and things like that are just metaphors and allegory for the temptation and the hard choices and the bad inclinations of mankind. And God, to me, are those things that are inexplainable, where things work out your way, where the sun is shining even bright, a beautiful sunset, things that fill you with awe and appreciation and connectiveness to the world that you live in. Like, to me, that's God. And then like demons and shit like that are just, the bad.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like it's too much shit to suss out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but
it's just we're too in the weeds, dude.
But maybe that's the point. Maybe it is really simple.
I think the demons are the slavers. But that's what
right? I think it's very simple. And like, and I also think that, we know scientifically, it's in an episode of Breaking Bad that they're positing about the weight of a soul. And the things that make up, the human body. There's like a bit that's left after,
0.42 grams or whatever. Right?
So like, whatever. I cannot say that there's not spirits and things that are unknowable that don't like affect the world. I know for a fucking fact. I know that there was a lady that could like predict deaths in her nursing home. I know that shit absolutely. Seen a bitch do it. She would just, the days she would come out and go to her fucking rocking chair with a shawl on, somebody was gonna die that day. And it happened every fucking time, and it was weird. I think that there is some amount of like connectiveness that we have with the universe, that we, that we feel things or perceive things more than what is explained through science. There's probably something else there. I just think that you knot yourself up if you are trying to like understand the thoughts and motivations and feelings of a being that's been here since the dawn of time, who doesn't live on this realm. In this realm, like, you just twist yourself up in knots, and there's no point in doing that. You just need to live for the universe that you got here before you.
Yeah, that's very beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah. What do you think, Jesse? And don't say something stupid.
He wasn't thinking at all.
I wasn't actually. No, I don't know, man. I have issues, right? Like, I think I have a lot of issues, especially like when mental health comes into it. I think, like, especially with like that Hell House thing you talked about, like this was just a case of like generational trauma and like systemic inequality resulting in terrible like abuse, and.
But then how do you explain all of these caseworkers seeing this kid actually walk backwards up a wall?
I don't think they saw that.
But they all said they did.
I think they convinced themselves they saw that, or someone convinced them that they saw that.
Maybe the demon.
I think Zach Baggins had a very
them.
vested interest in crafting a compelling narrative.
No. Okay, so this family wouldn't even talk to him because there's two theories on this. One, this shit actually happened to them. They didn't want anything to do with him because he'd been inside their old house. Second theory, they had been in communication with a movie producer who wanted to make a real movie about their story.
I mean,
do you not?
I think those people believe they're.
I think,
but like,
it's in like the realm of possibilities is how I like to look at shit. Like, what are all of our options of possibilities? And we do know that eyewitness testimony is shaky at best. Mm-hmm. But also especially for, it's like there's time periods like back in like when the Ouija board, like right before the Ouija board was made or whatever, people would just go to like seances, like dabbling in this kind of thing was just like, like a thing. Yeah. So like there are people who could, there is a possibility that people could lie and say they saw something that they did not.
But for example, one of the caseworkers, she actually moved out of town. Like she left everything because it was so traumatizing for her. She didn't want to be anywhere near it. She had to like start over completely and like get like a ton of therapy just because she saw this shit.
You see some horrible shit as a caseworker, and maybe.
But it was because of this case.
Maybe you want so bad to rationalize that like people can't do horrible shit to each other that you're just like, oh, it's a demon. It must be a demon because like people couldn't hurt their kids. Like somebody couldn't hurt their children. Like
I don't know. All I'm saying is I think you should just watch the documentary and like see for yourself what you think.
I will watch it, but I have a very complicated relationship with Zach Baggins.
Like when you were talking about the things that you could that could like be testaments to you having a possession, are also just like symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning, like you going crazy, you seeing things,
or like sleep paralysis or some shit,
like sleep, high fatigue, like all of that is just like also carbon monoxide. All people going crazy, also lead poisoning. There's just shit in nature that can,
ergot, like we talked about in the LSD episode.
Like bacteria, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but I think
there's a bacteria out there that just makes, like, it's not a bacteria. It's a like a parasite that can bite you, and if it bites you, you just want to commit suicide. Like nothing will stop you from trying to kill yourself. Is that what I have? It is a thing. It is in Australia. No, you don't, because you would have been successful, but not. Like you will go the distance to. And like it bites animals, and they do it. They just fucking run into traffic, kill themselves. If it bites a person, that's what they're going to do.
The thing. I feel like reality is so much more horrifying. Like how much of this is like just a result of, like I said, living under like systemic oppression, and suffering from like mental illness, right? Or like I don't know. Like it just seems like.
There's so many factors to account for. It's hard for me to. And
if it is demons, then what's the point in trying to combat things like systemic oppression? Like, because it's demons.
Because it's just demons.
Yeah. So why try?
Just go towards the Lord.
But what does the Lord want? We don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's low key kind of pro rape, dude. Like.
That's what the Bible says, but as I said before.
So then, how do you go towards the Lord? Then
your own personal intuition.
So then what is the point of believing in any of it, right? If the Lord is your own personal, if going towards the Lord is your own personal, like, this is how I'm good, this is how I'm bad, then like then his code was already written in your DNA, you know? So
I guess I'll just say, like, for myself, like, I do feel like we have free will, and I feel like my willpower has been suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, like, in having free will, I need to exercise some of my will.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I completely agree. I said that earlier. Like, willpower and trying to better yourself or what, like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And if you need religion to, like, hold you accountable to have something backing you up doing that thing, like, that's not, I mean, honestly, my kids are that for me. I'm not saying, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes it's super helpful to keep it together for you to have something that you're fighting for.
Yeah, definitely.
An ideal that you're.
Well, and, like, even for myself, like, it wouldn't just be me, like, being like, oh, I don't want to go to hell. It's me being like, I am not anywhere in my life, like, near where I should be, near where I want to be. So that would be the thing that I would be
It's like a
fighting
motivational
for.
tool. Yeah.
And it's like, it's not, okay. It's also not, it's a bit, crushing, I think, the individualistic, thrust in our society where, like, you know, you live in a capitalist driven society where you're not going, like, the idea of, like, making it is becoming harder and harder, and everybody feels like they're strained tighter and tighter. And I guess all I'm trying to say is that it's like your response to those things, to dip into vices or live your life, like, you know, not to its fullest, is completely understandable, and it's not necessarily your fault. You know what I mean?
It's not some moral shortcoming.
It's not a moral shortcoming. It is literally trying to fucking survive. You know what I'm saying? If you're fucking sad all the time and, you know, you feel like, I want to go out with my friends and if you want to take a mind altering substance just to fucking numb it, it's painful. Life is fucking not good right now. So it's like, you know, it's not a moral failing of yours to be struggling or to feel like, oh shit, look at where I am, I need to rein it in. Like, that's not, it is succumbing to the society that you live in. And that's, like, okay. It's nice. It's great that you recognize it. And it's great that you want to do better. But I just don't want you to think it's like,
you're a bad person for it.
Yeah, like, you're bad. Because it's like, it's hard to exist. There's so much fucking pressure right now. And
well, let me tell my story.
Yeah.
All right. So, like I said, Stacey, your story was a really good primer into mine, because today I am telling you the story of the haunting of the Snedeker family.
Oh, okay.
In 1986, Philip Snedeker was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma at just 14. Philip was the eldest of 4 and was born to Carmen and Alan Snedeker. The best option to treat him was hundreds of miles away in Southington, The best option to treat him was hundreds of miles away in Southington, Connecticut. And so they began packing their family of 8, which was Carmen, Alan, their 3 sons, a daughter, a daughter and 2 nieces. And Carmen went to Southington to look for an apartment. She had a really hard time finding anything in their price range that was still big enough to fit their whole family. But thanks to a massive stroke of luck, Carmen came across a rental property being renovated mere miles away from the hospital. She explained her situation to the landlord, and he cut Carmen a good deal. Alan would have to visit on the weekends until his transfers went through, but things were looking up until they began to move in. While they were carrying a load of boxes down in the basement, Carmen discovered a strange set of tools, brutal-looking saws, scalpels, forceps. These were all, like, medical equipment. Upon further investigation, she found a walk-in deep freeze and a small automated lift that she would later learn was used for transporting bodies from the basement to the upper floor.
I don't give a fuck how good of a deal you get on a house. Y'all go remove the walk-in freezer, dog. Like, there
Well,
is absolutely no reason.
How do you remove a walk-in freezer from
I
a
don't
basement?
fucking know. You better figure it out.
Why
Or
are
board
you
that
going to
shit
remove
out.
that? I feel like that sounds amazing.
Well, that was.
Can you imagine how many things you could keep in there?
That was part of
That's
the
the
landlord's
problem.
logic. Actually, was that the walk-in freezer would be useful to the family.
That's my problem, though. The amount of shit you can put in it. What were you putting in it?
Well, when Carmen called to find out, she found out that it was bodies because this used to be a funeral home.
But you know what I would put in there? I put chicken nuggets. I put pizza rolls. I put Totino's pizza. I put ice cream. That's what I put in that.
Hell yeah,
freezer.
brother.
Just
That's
be
exactly what I
always
put in there
set.
too.
Yeah.
So Carmen called the landlord to be like, yo, what the fuck? And like I said, he would reveal that this was formerly a funeral home where bodies were processed in-house.
Okay.
He removed everything but the body lift because he couldn't get that shit out. And then, of course, the deep freeze.
Honestly, as a kid, I would be super stoked. Like,
Right.
dude. I
and
tell everybody. Like,
Carmen and Alan decided not to tell the kids where they were living, though Philip would quickly piece it together. He was 14 years old. He wasn't dumb. Not long after, Carmen would begin mopping upstairs to prepare to move the furniture in. And as she began to run her mop across the floor, the water got darker and murkier until it eventually turned into what she described as a dark red goop.
like a viscous.
Like blood, if you
Blood.
will. And then just like that, she blinks and the water turns back to normal. Carmen wrote this off as exhaustion. Moves are really stressful on top of her son being really sick, right? But soon enough, they got everything settled and Philip would begin his treatment and things were getting to as close to normal as, they could get. However, this sense of normalcy wouldn't last long. Philip began having violent outbursts. He would start screaming at his parents and physically attacking his siblings. Then one night while sleeping in his dope-ass new basement bedroom...
Ooh.
They put him in the basement?
Yes.
Isn't that where they do the autopsies?
Yes.
Yikes.
Philip began to feel the temperature drop. An ominous presence washed over him, and he began to hear a faint but growing whisper, Philip. Philip. Philip.
That was nice.
Thank you.
I think it's child abuse to put your kid in the basement.
I think if the basement used to be used to process corpses, I would agree with you. Yeah. I
think like any
I always wanted a basement room as a kid.
I think that it's okay for your kid to be like, hey, I would like to live in the basement for privacy and distance and whatever. I think that it is
To force them?
to force your children.
Well, you're assuming
in a windowless basement.
I don't know if we forced. I don't know if
Okay.
they forced him.
I just want
you know?
my
I would not disagree with you.
ideal to be known. That's
Can
not
I
okay.
just talk about myself for a second?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was a kid, I used to hang out in my basement all the time. I had a big TV down there. I'd watch
Hell
it.
yeah.
I'd write screenplays, do all kinds of stuff. I would not sleep down there. Never. No.
The spiders.
That tracks for who you are today.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It does.
I'm not wearing the headphones right now. So
Yeah, I
I don't
know.
care.
I was waiting for you to say something, but you weren't wearing the headphones. Yeah. So, Carmen and Alan, he would tell his parents about this, but Carmen and Alan would just brush this off. Clearly, this was just a result of his lymphoma treatments. But just in case, they approached the priest that married the two of them and asked him to perform a blessing on Philip in the house.
So that also pisses me off because are you fucking telling me that your child is like, hey, some freaky shit's happening in this basement, and then someone who clearly believes in the woo, because you called your priest to do a blessing, didn't just remove your son from the fucking basement?
Yeah, for sure.
You go sleep in the fucking basement, you asshole.
I agree, 100%. But this blessing would
It would take one time. I'm sorry. It would take one time for my kids to be like, hey, I feel unsafe in this space that I'm in.
You know, these
for
are-
me to adjust the space that they're in.
These are all very valid criticisms that will come up again.
Okay.
I promise.
Okay,
you.
I'll show.
This only seemed to make things worse, though. Now all of the other children were starting to see shadowy figures move at night, and this came to a head when one night after dinner, their youngest daughter looked up from her dollhouse to see a strange woman with no eyes dressed in white. All of the children began sleeping with the lights on. However, this did little to deter the presence that was invading their lives. The younger boys were now seeing a man with long hair cloaked in black, and they decided to tell their parents what they've been seeing. Alan was having none of it. He decided to tell them the truth about their house being a funeral home, but assured them that they had no reason to be afraid. He then pulled Philip aside and explained that this was simply his medications reacting, and that being the eldest, it was his responsibility to keep the younger kids from freaking out. Go ahead.
I just think it's bullshit.
I agree.
First of all, you should have just told them at the beginning that, you know, the story of where they were living. It's weird for you to try to oddly protect them in that way by not giving them knowledge, especially, again, because they do believe in the woo.
Right.
As a family. So
Definitely.
the fuck? And then if it gets to a point that all of your kids are sleeping with the lights on, maybe y'all just need to bunk up together, and you know what I'm saying? Like,
definitely.
like
Do something to console your children.
Right.
Exactly. I think it was worth mentioning, though, that Alan was understandably under a lot of stress, right? His son has fucking Hodgkin's lymphoma. They're having to move across the country. The bills are mounting higher and higher because the real enemy, I think the real horror here is the American healthcare system, right? Like, he should be able to take some time off.
Absolutely.
And he received an electric bill that was in the hundreds of dollars, and this is in the late 80s, so that's like
super
crazy,
chunky,
you know?
Yeah.
And finally it had it, and he went into each of the children's bedrooms and took away their light bulbs.
Took away their light bulbs?
He took away their light bulbs.
That's really rude.
Wild,
Did he
right?
give him a fucking candle or something?
Well, he gave him something, because later that night, when Philip was in bed, he awoke to flashing lights. He sat up to see his little sister playing with the light switch, causing the lights to flick on and off. He chased his sister upstairs, but when she rounded the corner, she disappeared. He told his parents what had happened, and they told him it couldn't have been his sister because she slept with them all night and never got up. And
oh, that's creepy.
Also, there were no light bulbs in the light sockets.
Right.
Oh, that's really creepy.
Do you think that this is going to help with your kids' lymphoma? Him just stressing the fuck out all the time?
Cannot imagine it would.
Can I just say, okay, do we think that the little girl was a doppelganger, or do we think that he just confused
at this point,
it
Philip
as his
is
sister?
freaked out because he's convinced that whatever is in the house can take the form of a person, specifically their family.
Their family.
But this is just like a serious question, though. Like, do you think that maybe it was like a little girl who like died in the funeral home?
We'll get there.
Or okay,
we will get to what we think it is, or what is speculated to be going on here.
okay.
All right. While all of this happening, the family was experiencing all of like the cliche ghost story stuff. This demon is honestly kind of a hack. Like, sometimes the house would just smell like rotten eggs. Doors would open and close themselves. Things would go missing, but like in a spooky way, not in like an ADHD way. Right. And then one evening, Carmen set the table for dinner and then went down to the deep freeze to grab some chicky nuggies. When she came back, all of the plates and the silverware were just gone. Just never to be seen again. Carmen at some point also noticed that all of the crucifixes that they had kept in the house had just disappeared.
Was one of the kids Chris Angel, the mind freak?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, he had just he'd been mind freaking him the whole
He
time.
was mind freaking him the whole
How
time.
could the crucifixes disappear if like evil things, if they can't touch
Well,
holy things?
I guess this is a thing like that's very common in these stories, is like in the Amityville Horror, like one of the things they experienced was like the poltergeist or whatever would like invert all of the crucifixes in the house. So like they can interact with this stuff according to the lore, the deep lore.
I would also, whatever. Maybe they just put them in the walls. They didn't interact with the crucifix necessarily. They made the walls all gummy. For it to like suck into the wall.
Sure.
Okay.
Because the cross needs to be visible for it to have an effect, right?
No.
So I would just assume that they would, try to make it not be visible.
Regardless, this went on for like a year. And Carmen and Alan rejected what was right in front of their eyes the whole time, but they would eventually be forced to confront the truth. One night after coming home from a date, Carmen's oldest niece claimed she was sexually assaulted by a ghost.
Oh.
She yelled for Carmen, who came running. She sat with her niece and prayed to calm her down, but assured her that ghosts aren't real. But then, right before her eyes, she saw a spectral hand grope her niece's breast and then disappear into the wall.
That's so stupid.
I'm sorry.
You remember that? You remember that the fucking screen cap I sent you?
That's so funny, dude.
So
Because presumably the ghost stops when the screaming occurs, and then when he gets an audience in the room, he's like, one more squeeze.
honk, honk.
Well, let's go. Like, what?
Sometimes I'll just grab a Hazy's boob and just be like, "Auga," and I kind of imagine that's what was going on.
Yeah, it's just really funny for him to be like, you startled me.
But let
Now
me get
that
it
an
one more.
audience has appeared.
So at this point, Al's starting to get freaked out too, and he's starting to hear music late at night. He's starting to hear people talking, and it gets to the point where he is going room to room in the house, checking each one with a gun. Mm-hmm. And then
Shoot this ghost, dog.
right. It wasn't long after that that he also is sodomized by the ghost.
Jeez.
Like in his butthole?
In his
That's where
beehole.
sodomy
Yep, that is where sodomy tends to
occurs.
happen.
Cool.
And he described it as being he was laying in bed and he tried to reach out to Carmen, but he couldn't move, and he felt a sharp pain in his anus. And that's how he described it. And so after this, they finally reach out for help.
See, of course, it's after he
gets butt fucked by the demon. Yeah.
Why is it a sharp pain though? Because but I've experienced that, and it wasn't necessarily.
You've experienced demon butt fucking?
No, just the regular kind.
Well,
but,
this is demonic butt fucking.
But why does
Well,
it have
I
to
think
be
that
painful?
there is a sharp pain when they cross the threshold. Shit hurts.
Is there? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, if you're not relaxed and lubed up and stuff.
If you're not doing anal with a literal woman, that was a joke about Dominic
Oh.
being a lady.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm also gonna say though, in my research about demons,
I thought you meant butt sex.
people have recounted their experiences with being raped by a demon as actually being satisfying.
I do want to touch on this later too, but yes, that is a thing. You're right.
So, I mean, I just feel like, what purpose does it serve for the demon to do it painfully? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
The demon should want him to like it.
I think you're right. I think he needs to be a more tender lover, is what Stacey's saying.
Right. Okay. I had my first sleep paralysis experience
I'm really jealous.
a year ago. It's not as the worst thing
I'm sure it's terrible. I'm so curious about
it
the
was
experience of
awful.
what happened.
But part of that was definitely a feeling of deep violation.
It's
there's
super
something
common. It was sleep is a feeling of sexual violation is super common
there
with sleep
is,
paralysis.
I think, and I don't know, I haven't researched it, but to rationalize it in my brain, I would think that happens a lot to women, our deepest, the terror that's out there. I mean, there's a lot of terrors out there for women, but one of them would be to lack the ability to move or respond, while being violated in that way. And I think maybe our brain, because it can't suss out what the fuck is happening, and we're asleep and we're halfway between conscious and waking world, that maybe, although there was no actual violation, that the feeling of violation was there because we could not move.
So if I recall correct, there is an episode of Stuff You Should Know where they talk about sleep paralysis, and it's actually a neurological thing. There's some part, it triggers some part
But
of your
that's what
brain.
I'm saying. I
That is,
think that
close to the sexual parts of your brain. Like
I
there's
was
some
just
like
thinking that the
crossover, like
brain
neuroelectricity there.
a logical leap in that I'm immobile. I can't move, but I'm awake. Why can't I move?
No, if I remember correctly, it's
Violation.
a neurochemical response
Interesting.
going on there.
Okay, anyway, continue.
So it was after this they finally called some professionals. Enter Ed and Lorraine Warren,
Okay.
real life Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did I say
Okay.
Ghostbusters? I meant Hucksters. Sorry. You would know Ed and Lorraine Warren from stuff like the Amityville Horror, The Conjuring, and Annabelle.
Yep.
And I gotta say that they are nowhere near as attractive as the actors that play them.
Absolutely not.
Definitely
Ed
not.
is a real butterface.
Absolutely.
Who's that girl? Something Farmiga. Her name is.
I don't know. She's gorgeous though.
Her last name is Farmiga, and then her daughter, Taza Farmiga, was in American Horror Story.
Oh, right on.
And also in one of the Conjuring.
Probably. Yeah,
I think
that
it's
wouldn't
Vera
surprise me.
Farmiga.
well.
Vera Farmiga plays.
That's
Lorraine
a terrible name, by the way.
So Ed and Lorraine heavily
like a
documented the
medication.
goings on in the house, right,
Right.
over the course of 2 years. And they eventually gather enough evidence to get the Catholic Church to go ahead and agree to come in and perform an exorcism, driving out the ghost. So eventually it was revealed that Ed and Lorraine believed that the person that owned the funeral home was a necromancer, and he was fucking the corpses. And that's what caused them to be angry.
Not a necromancer.
Yes, he was a necromancer performing necrophilia.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
And so in 1992, a book titled Dark Place, The Story of a True Haunting was published detailing the events that took place. And then in 2009, a film based on that book was released under the title The Haunting in Connecticut. It's fucking dog shit. So this was originally just going to be a spooky story. Right. However, upon doing my research, it turned into an entire thing.
Okay.
I discovered an episode of Sally Jesse Raphael
Ooh.
where she interviewed the family, right, and the Warrens, as well as the people who lived in the house after them, and all of their neighbors, and a bunch of other people, and they're full of shit. They're all full.
That's what
of
I
shit.
was thinking. Also,
None of them believed anything that they were saying. So
they disagreed too, right? Like the family and the Bobbits. What's their name? What are
the
their
Warrens
names? Warrens. They disagreed, right?
in
I was thinking Lorraine,
Lorena Bobbitt.
Yeah.
Lorena Bobbitt, yeah,
Yeah.
she cut off the dick.
but they disagreed in their accounts. Am I?
You might be right.
Am
I
I?
honestly
Okay.
did not do super deep research like I
Okay.
have been because I wanted it to be fun, but I couldn't help myself and dug too deep.
I understand.
Ruined it. You know, there was a guy. It was so good in the. So in the episode of Sally Jesse Raphael, they had like a skeptic come in who had essentially just been going around debunking all of the Warren shit, right? And he comes on the show and he sits down and Ed Warren just starts immediately arguing with him. And the guy's just not having any of his shit. And he goes, yeah. We all know you're a loudmouth, Ed. You gonna let me talk or not? He's just so fucking shitty the entire time. It's great.
Wow.
We also learned that Philip had been doing LSD a lot, which would, attribute to the hallucinations he was having.
And also I would say like, because at first I was leaning towards like, it's a fucking gas leak in their house.
Yeah.
But I would say also it's very easy to like your kids are so susceptible to things.
Yeah.
and they want to be interesting, have something to say, please you as a parent. So if like you suggest something to kids, it's just easy for them to use their imaginations to
Oh, for sure. Fill in the gaps from there.
run wild with it, or to have scary dreams and nightmares, and to think that like that is a legitimate thing that that is happening
Definitely.
in real life.
Yeah. I think my favorite my favorite part of the entire episode of Sally. I watched it like 2 or 3 times. But one of the people living there after the family moved out goes, well, I talked to the landlord and he said y'all weren't having problems with ghosts until you started having problems with your rent. And then the entire audience went, ooh. It was so good.
I am that audience.
That's really
They
funny.
do not make talk shows like they used to,
No,
man.
they don't, dude.
It's such a bummer.
No, they don't. Okay. Yeah, that shit is all bullshit.
Yeah.
I think as like the Warrens.
Sorry.
And go ahead.
The writer, the guy that wrote the book, after Ed Warren's death, came out and was like, yeah, so Ed and I just cooked all this shit up.
Yeah.
Like,
Because
and
it's
he
like
wrote the Amityville Horror, he wrote this
You
one,
can't-
he wrote like the Annabelle shit,
you
the
can't-
Conjuring, he wrote all of those.
You can't make a life out of doing those things, and you make a living off of it, while not being a huckster to some extent. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, and I agree.
Even it-
and I think even if like certain things are real, I think that like if they are real, they're so rare that in order to try to make a living off of something like that, you would have to pretend, which is what I was
Or even a
saying
more
about like
charitable
ghost shows.
interpretation would be like, to convince the masses, maybe you need to make up a more bombastic story, right?
yeah, that part, for sure. All right. Well, is that the end, guys?
I think so. I mean, that's the end for me. Stacey, do you have anything
So
else?
what did we conclude? Who killed that woman? Are demons real? Are they not real? Was that family haunted? What's our conclusion?
Husband, no.
Husband. I was actually just thinking I have another theory that maybe there's a story.
Actually, I want to husband. It doesn't matter. No.
Yes. There's a story about a lady who was like super into like rape fantasies and like extreme BDSM and stuff like that, and wanted a dude to like rape and murder her. So she went on forums and like solicited
Jesus.
a guy to do that, and then a guy did that, and the whole thing was basically like, should he be put in prison, and if so, for how long?
Yes.
Because she asked for it. It's like assisted suicide kind of, but I would say, I don't know, man. Just because someone allows you to do your sadistic torture fantasy
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean you should. But I say all that to say,
It's also
maybe-
not the same thing as assisted suicide at all.
Yeah, maybe though, that's kind of what was going on in my story. Like, maybe old girl and her ex-husband had
Had like a kink thing.
weird kink proclivities, and things spiraled out of control, which would
That's a real
It's super far-fetched.
Far.
Yeah.
It's if that's spiraling.
I literally
that's
just can't make heads or tails of it. If she did it herself or not, I just can't imagine without it being.
There's no fucking shot, dude. There's no shot.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. But also, yeah, probably the husband. It doesn't matter. Or, yes, they're real as you manifest them individually. And they were full of shit.
Yeah, they just needed to sell a book because their son had Hodgkin's lymphoma and they had a lot of medical debt, which is sad. No, it is what it is.
So which ones are good, bad, and funny?
No, they're all spooky. That was the point.
Yeah,
It was-
they're all spooky.
But I feel like it'd be fun to suss out which ones are good, bad, and funny.
Yours would be funny. No.
I think yours
Weirdly
is
enough, good.
Yeah.
And Jesse's would be funny, and mine would be bad.
okay.
I think, especially because it's like a real thing that happened. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the that fucking screen cap I sent you from the. It was a picture of Al, and it just said Al believes he was sodomized by a demon. So good.
But no, I think that if a demon were to sodomize someone, they would want it to be a good experience because they would be trying to get
temptation is there.
Exactly.
You like this? There's plenty more of it where that came from.
Exactly.
You know?
But it's also like weird. But people already want to have sex, dog. Like, I don't know if you need to sodomize somebody.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
to bring them over to your team.
Half of the hentai games that are being advertised to me on Steam are of like ghosts. Just get fucked by a ghost. Like, yeah, people love that shit. It's all they can think about. Allegedly. Or so I've heard.
Do you think that there's ghost porn? I feel like
100%.
Yeah, I've seen ghost porn.
I never even thought about looking that up.
Let's pull it up right now on the TV. We'll include a link to the ghost porn in the
Absolutely
description of the episode.
What is ghost porn like? Like, what do they do?
Well, he stands behind her, right, and kind of guides her hands up and down the penis.
Which one's the ghost?
Hit him.
The dude.
Because the movie Ghost.
Oh. Ew.
It's just usually just like a lady writhing around pretending like she's currently fucking, or a dude
Have you seen
writhing around pretending as if he's fucking someone, but there's no one there.
Have you seen the
is
one?
what the ghost porn is like.
So are you familiar with the fuck machine subgenre?
Yes.
Where so it's just like a dildo attached to a piston?
Yeah, Katie's really into this.
Good for Katie.
Too violent for me.
But there's one I saw of like a plastic skeleton attached to the dildo, attached to the piston, fucking the girl, and she's dressed as a witch.
Okay.
So
So elaborate, dog. It's like, you know what? It's like work on your imagination.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that you need so much actual real life, tangential.
Tangible?
No, yeah, tangible. Tangential is a different word.
You're right. You don't need tangible shit, if your imagination is where it should be. Like,
I don't know though.
I don't
like,
think that you really need a, torso like some dude's
I see what you're saying.
or like
I think there's some merits to bringing some like implements into the bedroom or whatever for like role play purposes, but like
I believe that is true for if you're with another person. I think it is very weird.
I see what you're saying.
For
yes.
you to masturbate
I
and
see
not
what
be
you're
able
saying.
to use your imagination
like
to go
fuck
the full
dolls
distance. Yeah,
are weird.
Yeah,
but like
you're
a
doing
pocket
a lot.
pussy, that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, because it doesn't. It's not like you're like. It doesn't actually look like a whole human. Yeah.
Yeah. Just go buy a prostitute. Hire a prostitute.
Right, dog. Like, get therapy or something. Like, you're clearly too lonely.
Are those the two options for that? Hire a prostitute or get therapy?
Yes. You're like clearly too fucking lonely to function.
Yeah. All right. You've been listening to The Good, the Bad, and the Spooky. The Good, the Bad, and the Spooky is hosted by Jesse McIntyre, Lynette Thomas, and Stacey Stark. Intro music by Jared Scott. For more, you can follow us on Facebook at The Good, the Bad, and the Funny. And if you want to support us, you can follow us on Patreon at The Good, the Bad, and the Funny. And if you have any stories you'd like to hear featured on the podcast, you can email us at goodbadorfunny@gmail.com. Everybody say boo!
Boo!